What's up, Facebook? What's up, Instagram? Yep, going live tonight. This is going to be a quick special, but it won't be quick at all. This is going to be a pretty long and detailed podcast, but much needed. Probably another halfway rant, but because I just received a text message from my dear sweet mother who says she loves me and she's proud of me, and take God with you, meaning in speech, I'm going to try my best to refrain from terms that might step on some toes, because I really don't care if I offend you or not, but just for the sake of, I've been seeing a lot of things all over social media that, you can't control. No, you can't control everything. A lot of things are just external. However, because this is a unique special operation by laws and orders, it means that you can know everything I can know. It's all public. It's all public knowledge. It's all public information. The only thing that's not public is your initiative. So I can't make you read. I can't make you comprehend. I can't make you apply these little things in our brain called IQ. But someone has to know what's going on right now. Now, you don't have to like me. You don't have to like my personality. You can hate me for all that. I mean, a lot of people do. But you don't have to like me. You don't have to love me. I'm not a podcaster. I'm a retired veteran who's keeping an oath to the T of our foundation, to the T of the laws and the orders and the premise of this whole nation. It's your problem. If you have any kind of problem against me, that's your problem. It's also your problem that you don't apply and you don't listen to the things you can know right now. A lot of you are just clicking on everything and anything, and you're trying to find new news, and it's not new. Nothing's new. You're not going to discover anybody new right now. Nothing. So there's a saying out there, it says insanity is doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. Well, a lot of you are doing that to yourself. You're creating your own insanity. You're creating your own world of confusion. You're creating your own world of discomfort, no peace, no solace. You're doing that. And God put me in your life for a reason. God put me here. He knew that I couldn't go to every household in this country and sit for 5, 8, 10, 20, 30 hours in every household. So he did what? He allowed me to go globally viral on a video August 24, 2022. And ever since that day, I've been nothing but consistent. You haven't seen my backgrounds change. You don't see 1,000 posts about sponsors this, sponsors that, endorsement this, endorsement that. You don't see anything like that. I'm the same old cowboy. Same old dude. Same guy. You know how you debunk things? You want to know how you debunk things? First, it requires a little thing called listening. If you think what I'm saying is horsewash, garbage, trash, idiocracy, whatever you think it may be, the way you debunk somebody is listening first and then researching what they're giving you. You know why no one's debunked me? Because when they start reading, when they actually apply initiative and they actually go read, study, and comprehend, guess what happens? They find out, oh shit, it is here. It's all here. Then they disappear. Then they'll go in their little world somewhere, Idaho, Illinois, Maine, wherever they are, and then they're doing what to their friends and family? Acting like they knew the whole time. Now the outright haters who are on the other side, the liberals, Democrats, they just disappeared. But let me show you a prime example before we get to all the facts again. I posted a post tonight. I said, I'm going live. I'd like to thank, I said it like this. I said, I would like to thank a certain group out there for canceling our show tonight. I was supposed to be on the podcast tonight. I said, I'd like to thank them for canceling our every 2-week podcast in order to allow me to go live tonight on a broader account. broader platforms. We have people in that comment box of me advertising that I'm going live tonight. We have people saying, why did they cancel you? We have people who can't even read a simple message. Simple. They didn't cancel me. We postponed the show tonight where I could go live on a broader platform. So, it frustrates me because we have a lot of great patriots who follow my page. They make up a great audience. And I have full control of my pages. You're not going to be on my page whatsoever. I will block you and delete you. You can go elsewhere and you can go find your drama elsewhere. My page is not made for drama or propaganda whatsoever. And those of you who think that that makes me some kind of whatever who can't handle it, no, I can handle it perfect. I'm doing exactly what President Trump did. Do you know there's a Supreme Court docket case with President Trump against a certain group of people who were whining and complaining because he blocked them on Twitter? So, most of the people who complain are President Trump supporters. And your very guy that you claim to support has a Supreme Court docket case. I have a freedom of expression. I own these pages. I can control who is and who ain't. And my pages aren't for division. So earlier today, I roasted a quote-unquote influencer who happens to know me, has spoken to me before. And I can't stand when I have met people who either know me, have spoken to me, and or asked me to come on their shows who do not lead their people where they need to be. Where we are right now, there's no excuse. None. There's zero excuse whatsoever for people to be confused, in chaos, and also pandemonium in comment boxes. These people have all wanted me either on their show or they've spoken to me. If they cared about people, then why aren't they showing people my work? Why aren't they sharing all my posts? Why aren't they tagging their people? Hey, this guy can break it down to you. It's all validated. It's all laws and orders. It outlines a unique strategic blueprint and plan. It's a lot of information. Yes, we've said that from the get-go. A lot of information. But you still have to have the initiative. All of it's there. I wouldn't have #1 best-selling books if it weren't there, because we have mighty fine patriots all across this world, not just the U.S., mighty fine patriots who've all done the homework. It's all there. And I did all that. I did it to where you didn't have to get online after a hard day's work or whatever you're doing out there. I made it to where you don't have to go research all this stuff. It's all the chronological order of the laws and the orders by the military only. The economy separate. The economy has nothing to do with what's going on right now. It's important, but it's separate. So what people are doing, you see in the Mark Twain effect. You're seeing what they call the Mark Twain effect now. Mark Twain has a quote that says, "In the beginning of change, the patriot is scorned, hated, ridiculed, and mocked. But when his cause succeeds, the timid will join him, because then it costs nothing to be a patriot." So if you're seeing people out there who are misleading people, claiming to be quote-unquote influencers or investigative journalists and all that other bull crap, all right, and they're not showing people what President Trump has in place, what he's working with, then they have some kind of ulterior motive, or they're just straight up ignorant. So social media is good when it's good, but boy, when it's bad, it's atrocious. It's a great tool to have, but why do people claim to support me, but don't share people? You don't share. All they got to do is share all that. See, they don't want to do that though. See? Because when they show their people the blueprint, when they show their people the laws and the orders that outline a strategic, unique strategic pre-planned strategic special operation, it's going to look like they didn't know. And their people are going to leave their page because they're selfish and they can't lead during the time that needs to be led. And if I were here for a popularity contest, I wouldn't be here giving you all these loads of information that people steal from me. They make it look like they came up with it. They'll post it on their pages. They won't give me credit. It's all my intellectual property. That's happening currently, right now. That's the world we live in. Selfish world we live in. Because people want fame. They want notoriety. They want money. That's called greed, ladies and gentlemen. Guess who was the number one plagiarist in D.C. for many, 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 many years? Known for plagiarism. Joe Biden. So why do you support people who replicate the swamp? The whole point of draining the swamp is to drain the swamp. You don't support the people who replicate it. So you don't like that I'm tough? We had someone in the comment box today telling me I need to man up. I'm pretty sure manning up is calling out people, no matter who they are, for misleading people with false information, not real information. I'm pretty sure I'm the one who's manned up here. I'm pretty sure I'm hated by everybody, except for real patriots. The only people who love me are real, true, fine patriots. I'm hated by Republicans, conservatives, quote-unquote patriots, quote-unquote Trump supporters. How? If you're a President Trump supporter, how can you hate someone who's showing you all the laws and orders of military first and how they pair with federal? And then you get mad for calling you stupid, ignorant. You get mad you're the one posting your ignorance. You're the one putting it in writing. So I don't call people who are trying stupid. I don't call people who are trying to study stupid. I'm calling people stupid who put it in writing. When there's a clear blueprint in place, you have no excuses whatsoever. So when I see quote-unquote influencers out there who are blatantly misleading people, they're going to get called out. That is called manning up. That is exactly what that looks like. And if I were here for just numbers, then I wouldn't be blocking people. If I were here just because I wanted some face and a name, then I would bait you with a little cheesy post like they do. So we're going to address some of this. So, first and foremost, I'm just a retired veteran keeping the oath to the T of our founders. I'm the only person with #1 best-selling books that outline the 45-47, the operation of what President Trump wears on his ball cap. He gives you a visual. So any influencer out there that is not leading people to me, who outlines that, my intellectual property, they're in it for themselves. Because I can assure you right now, there's no influencer out there in the mainstream world. There's some over on Telegram and some of the places that I know personally. They're sharing this stuff. All right. But there's no influencer right now. The ones that I've called out, they have nothing for me to share. Because it's all propaganda. It's all drama. It's all baited algorithms for you to comment and run their visuals up. And that's where you, the people, have to get strong right now. We're in the social media world, so you got to take control of that. When you comment on a post, it runs the visuals up. When you share posts, it runs the visuals up. So a lot of these quote-unquote investigative journalists are blowing up out there for either regurgitated material that they've stolen from people and making it look like theirs, and or baited material that leads to nothing, no information whatsoever. And most of you are supporting that. The whole point of draining the swamp is leaving the swamp. The whole point of draining the swamp is not supporting people who replicate the swamp. James Madison. So here's another thing. People would say I have an attitude problem. Well, I do because of idiots. Sure, if you want to say I have an attitude problem, yep, I have an attitude problem because of dumb-ass idiots who keep replicating the swamp. And they're only doing what? Dragging other people down. Now's not the time to drag people down. Now's the time to have a leader who knows what's going on and can lead you through all the chaos and all what you think is chaos and pandemonium. It's not. Once you know what's in place, what you thought was chaos, it ain't chaos. What you thought was pandemonium, it's not pandemonium. There's a clear plan in place by laws and orders. I saw someone recently, another stupid podcaster out there saying, oh, there's no plan in place, got a little blue check. All you people who say that there's a plan, the dummy don't even know laws and orders. All these people who want to bash and trash, they don't know anything, one single line from one single law. So, James Madison, the father of the Constitution, he's the sole writer, predominant writer of the Constitution. September the 17th, 1787. Why didn't he just stop with the Constitution? If the Constitution is so great and whole, then why didn't he stop with the Constitution? Why do we have on record from October 1787 to August 1788? Why do we have on record 85 Federalist Papers from James Madison, Alexander Hamilton, and John Jay? Federalist Papers. It was a re-emphasis through 85 papers how this republic worked, but here's what happened in history. This republic worked, but here's what happened in history. And then Federalist Paper number 10 and number 14 tells the dangers of a pure democracy. Why do we have our founder, who, with two other men, other founders, but James Madison, one of the main authors of the Constitution, known as the father of the Constitution, why were they going around the states re-emphasizing how great the Constitution is and going to be for the people? That's what the Federalist Papers are. So why didn't I just stop with this book here? Why didn't I just stop with part 1, 216 pages? Why didn't I just stop with this? Number 1 bestseller alone. Why didn't I stop there? Why did I write 596 more pages of special operations military of what President Trump's doing and how he did it and how he could do it lawfully in a military style? 596 pages. All of these are straight off the top of the dome, meaning no ghostwriters, no publishers. This is also a number 1 bestseller. Why didn't I stop with the first one? You people out there, some of you people, you're your own enemy. You're your own worst enemy. And you claim to be a President Trump supporter and you jump ship all because of one poster boy that has an origin way back in 2008? Where the hell were you then? You want to act like a patriot now? Where were you then? Where have you been for all these other children? You want to stand up for the children? Your asses didn't even stand up there in 2020. Where were you? Most of you bitching, whining, and complaining were the very ones who walked around like a damn sheep and put the mask on because somebody else guilted you to do that. Guess who's on record for never wearing a mask? Me. The boy right here with the attitude problem. Where were you? Why do you want to act like a patriot now? You ain't no patriot. You're a bandwagon. That's what you are. If you have those attitudes out there, and if you get mad at me for putting someone in their place, calling themselves an influencer, who are misleading people right now with no information, you can't even call it false information because there's no information there. It's all drama and propaganda. Telling me to man up. I've manned up. I'm doing exactly what a veteran's supposed to do, keeping my oath to the T of the foundation. The whole reason we're here right now, the whole reason you're on my page is because of that foundation. And you ungrateful people out there, you're so ungrateful you can't even appreciate the foundation, much less appreciate what's going on right now because you don't know the foundation. You don't even know what you're fighting for. You don't even know what you're hanging on to. No wonder it looks the way it looks. And the same founding father The same founding father now. The Federalist Papers, the re-emphasis, hey, this is why it's going to be great. This is why it's going to be good. 16 years after the man who was the sole author, the main contributor of the Constitution is having to walk into a United States Supreme Court that he established, he created and established in the judicial branch, all from the Supreme Court all the way down. He's having to walk into the highest court in the land and tell a justice what a law looks like? No wonder we look stupid today. Well, I don't, and patriots don't. Our founding father of the Constitution, 16 years after he drafted the Constitution, having to go into the United States Supreme Court, the landslide, Marbury versus Madison, 1803, and tell a Supreme Court justice what a law is supposed to look like. No wonder we look atrocious today. Woo! I'm sure someone's going to be on here saying, so we got some of them out there, oh, you're drinking Gatorade, that's the deep state. So let me paint a common sense thing to you really quick. Some of you that can grasp common sense, but maybe some of you who maybe have your little feathers ruffled right now, maybe you can unruffle your feathers and listen for a moment. So I go viral August 24, 2022. By December the 2nd, I'm sitting at the private golf course of President Trump via two really good people out there. Who made all this happen? All right. I'm standing by the President of the United States of America with a pocket knife on my blue jeans. You don't think that the Secret Service don't know who I am and what I'm there for? You don't think for a second, are you serious right now? This is what people follow me has not applied, the ones making those atrocious comments, not the real patriots. I'm at the private establishment golf course of the president, standing there with him with a pocket knife on my blue jeans. I'm wearing blue jeans in the country club. Multiple pictures by President Trump. Multiple. Then you got people out there, that's not really Donald Trump. These people ain't ever been around a Trump trash can. But you think they put the real president out for the world to see, the real president out at events to get shot at and all these. You think they put the real president out there, but the body double gets to be at the private golf course playing golf all day. Some of you and your thinkers, so today, no, it was yesterday, there was a suspect that was arrested at Mar-a-Lago, outside the gate. They were trying to, they had a quote-unquote message for President Trump. Outside the gate, they were in a van, they got arrested. All right, so one of the times I pulled up to Mar-a-Lago, I'm painting a picture here, this is common sense for the Patriots. I pull up to Mar-a-Lago, I have my phone ready with a QR code. The Secret Service sends you a code on your phone, text message, and they'll scan that. I'm in my suit and tie, because you have to wear a suit and tie to Mar-a-Lago. It's very formal. I'm in my suit and tie. You've seen the photo. I've posted it before. I'm in my cowboy hat, naturally. And I pull up there, and Secret Service guy goes, man, put that down. We know who you are. So let me just paint a picture here. Let's just say that I was some instigator that was playing a role, playing this good guy, right? This guy who's old veteran and retired veteran, and I love President Trump and this, that, and other. Let's just say I was playing a role, and they're like, "Hey, we know you. Go on in." They didn't wand me. Nothing. There's no wand there. Nothing like that. You just roll right in the gate. Valet takes your car, and you go on. And you walk in the door. What if I meant harm to President Trump? Oh man, we know you. Put that thing down. They didn't even scan it. I drive right in the front gate, valet, hop out, going to Mar-a-Lago, right up in the front. President Trump sitting right there in the foyer. What if I meant harm to him? Do you see where we're going with this? Do you see where we're going with this? Now the real patriots here, no. You're not in question here. But why aren't my pages growing like they're supposed to? Now, I'm not in it for the number, but why aren't my pages growing like they're supposed to? I'm the only one that talks about the laws and orders that are invoked, that outline a military occupation, military operation. All because President Trump hasn't shared one post of mine. That's what I've seen by some people out there. You know how atrocious you look when you do that? The same people who think if they put the real president out at events, but the body double gets to chill at the private golf course with the members who already knew him. If President Trump shared my post right now, and or a general, it's game over. And they're not ready for the show to be over. As long as we're in a continuity government, which law shows that, the idiots out there, you'll see them on my pages. They'll say, he's just dragging this out. He's just trying to fit his narrative. The law shows right now, Executive Order 13961, a partial revocation, which means the other half is active. See, this is what happens when people don't listen, and they don't apply, and they don't comprehend. And or they don't want to because they're what? They're deep state. So let's address a few variables to stay away from. All right? Let's just address a few of them. Influencers who bait you on algorithms, right? They'll say stuff like, oh, you know, what do you feel about this? Question mark. The comments. All the time. And when you see a quote like that or a question like that, that's a bait. That baits you. All right? That's all that is. That's a bait. If they cared about you as a quote-unquote investigative journalist, if that's what they are, especially if they're a civilian, not military, if they cared about you and they didn't know all the things or how to say it like me and or didn't want to give me credit, well, then they would lead you to my page or share it. But they don't. All right? Number 2. There's people calling themselves Christians and patriots plagiarizing my content. Well, my content is unique and it's intellectual. President Trump just signed an executive order this year for intellectual property for authors, creators, songwriters, etc. If you're a creator of anything. Number 3. This is the best one. So 2 years ago, there was these turds that started their little hate group. They stole my Facebook page name. They tried to duplicate the name all during the time I was on a major publicity contract. All right. Major publicity all over the internet, all over the internet, radio, and even some TV broadcasts. All right. Stole my official name, which is trademarked. All right. Then they were trying to start this narrative out there that I have the full-fledged information. It's already gone through JAG and all that, but still. Because one of them just happens to be a stupid active duty soldier who needs to be removed from duty. So they try to create these prefabricated text messages between me and certain females. And they were going to get another person, a quote-unquote influencer, to put it on their quote-unquote show. And try to start all this stuff out there. Well, people love drama. Oh boy, people love drama. But boy, if the tables turned on them and you showed how many of them had criminal records, then they'd try to sue you for doxing. And that most of them have criminal records. Criminal. So what is my First Amendment? Okay, if I'm wrong about everything, or half of everything. What's my First Amendment have to do with theft, fraud, felonies, frame-up? So see, and these people claim that, oh, they love veterans, and they support veterans, and 1-800-VETERAN suicide hotline and all, but they're trashing me. So what does the First Amendment have to do with theft? Lying, misinformation, disinformation, fraud, frame-up. Then you have people out there, rhinos. There was one rhino out there saying that you got on America's, Real America's Voice, or whatever that is. Got out there on it, started trashing me, saying that, that the Title 50, Chapter 33 is not the War Powers Act. It most certainly is the War Powers Act. And they weren't doing this for you to go look it up. No, it wasn't some kind of reverse psychology. No. Then you have rhinos out there who said that the military can't work with civil, that would be an overthrow of the government and all these other things. Joint Publication 3-57, Civil-Military Operations, page 46, where it says, no, you don't want the regular forces in the streets of America unless what? Unless the Constitution or the what? Congress deems so. Well, why did the Congress deem so on December the 20th, 2019? So look at all of these people. Look at all these people out there, Republicans, rhinos, conservatives, quote-unquote patriots. Why are they replicating liberals? You see, so then it looks like I'm complaining. I don't lose sleep over this. I'm trying to help you people out what to look for. If an influencer is not showing you by law what is going on right now, which is a unique strategic operation. Matter of fact, we have a douchebag in the comment box on Instagram right now who is saying we're not in a cog. By law, Executive Order 13961, invoked December the 7th, 2020, partially revoked on January the 19th, 2025. That is how stupid people are. That's how stupid people are. I mean, you have to call a spade a spade. We got one live in the comment box right now saying that we're not in a continuity of government. And law shows that we are. That is how stupid America is. And if I were Commander-in-Chief, you better be glad that President Trump is Commander-in-Chief. If I were, right now, I'd have my people find this person and deport these people. They'd have a quick one-way ticket to Alligator Alcatraz, and their ass would be learning some history before they ever saw the light of day again. I mean, how did we get this stupid in America? How? How are we this stupid? Law shows we're in a continuity government, partial. And what's even more hilarious about it is a part of the whole show, the central casting. President Trump invoked it, and they made quote-unquote Joe partially revoke it. See how stupid these people look? That is the definition of using the term stupid. It's not using the term stupid for people who are trying to read, asking legit questions. You can tell the difference in someone who's reading and asking a question that's sincere and going, I'm confused, I don't know what this means, can you address this? Versus a dumbass in the comments sitting there stirring up the people, right, and saying, oh, we're not in a cog. He said it's BS. Law shows that. So if, quote-unquote, Joe Biden was the real president, then what's he doing revoking a continuity of government? Partial revocation. Man, I swear, God Almighty, help me, Jesus. If I wasn't a disabled veteran, and I really cannot do things like some people see me when they see me walking, but if I wasn't a disabled veteran, I would do exactly what Patrick Swayze did. His mother said when he was being picked on for doing ballet in high school. He also played football, but you'd think that would exempt that. He went to his football coach, and he asked to see every single one of the idiots who were making fun of him for doing ballet in the boxing ring. And his mother said, I think that took care of that. Every single one of these idiots, if I was able to, I would meet you in the boxing ring. The dude that tried to steal my trademark, I would meet him in the boxing ring, and I would wear his ass out. And all these idiots, especially if you're a male, no females allowed, but if you were a male, I would wear your ass out if I was still capable. I talk to a bunch of friends daily, and we cannot believe it's just baffling how stupid people are. When there is clear law. And what they're trying to do with it is make it bipartisan. They're trying to reset everything to make it to where in the future it'll be bipartisan. Meaning that it won't be dog eat dog. It won't be idiots in the comment box who argue with outright law. A basis and premises of how we function and operate. Now, veterans out there. Let's address the veterans. All right. There was only a couple of veterans that were showing resentment towards me 2 and 3 years ago. But see, they couldn't show anymore. Once the laws kept showing certain things, then they realized, they said too much. And when the laws kept doing what they were doing, it did most certainly and does most certainly outline a military occupation, military operation, continuity of government, government exile, unconventional warfare, irregular warfare. So anytime people like the idiots in the comment box, anytime they say anything against laws and orders, which are actually more military based than they are federal right now, you're shitting on every memorial grave in this nation. Everybody who took the fall or is in a memorial grave across this nation, you're crapping on their grave. Because military laws and orders are not conspiracy theories. So if you want to keep continuing to crap on veterans. Now, the veterans that don't know what's going on, they get a hall pass for one reason. Every veteran, most veterans serve with a good heart. They're a good person, good, decent person, most of them, not all of them. But most veterans, when they're presented the facts of military laws and orders first, outside of government, say, hey, here's what's happening via Title 10, presidential authority right here that backs and supports the whole foundation. This is what's going on. We're eliminating child trafficking, sex trafficking, human trafficking, drug trafficking. We're also doing this, and that. When they're presented with that, they will come on board because you cannot separate one Title 10 order from another Title 10. The military, though, does not teach veteran laws and orders. They just don't do it. When you're at active duty, National Guard, reserves, the military expects you to come on as an adult, as a functioning adult. The military ain't for you to drink and party and act like an idiot. Same thing with college out there. Look at all the college kids. Look how they treat college. They go there to party, drink, have fun, cram study, and then try to pass a test. They're not there for the right reasons. Even if professors were good, which that's a whole other topic. But even if they were good, kids aren't going there for the right reasons. People who join the military, there's two different sets of people who join the military. There's people who join because they know the oath. It may be a family lineage or something of that nature, and they know the Constitution. They understand the foundation, the Revolutionary War, the whatever branch they're going in, the history of that. Or there's people who go in for stability, money, privileges. So I can't help that some veterans don't know what's going on right now. But any veteran who says it's hogwash or BS or acts like the idiot in the comment box over there, anyone who acts like that or says that, it don't matter if they're a general, full bird colonel, lieutenant colonel, major, captain, lieutenant, it doesn't matter. Sergeant major, command sergeant major, it doesn't matter. If they don't know what's going on right now, currently invoked in laws and orders, it doesn't matter. It don't matter if they're a lawyer. It don't matter if they're an attorney. It don't matter what their status is. None of that matters if you don't know what's currently in laws and orders. So if you love President Trump, especially if you love President Trump, and you claim to be a President Trump supporter, I'm so sick of people calling him Trump. I'm sick of it. His name is President Trump. Get it right. Get his dignity and respect correct. It's President Trump. Get it right. He can call himself that and some of his other people. But you, the people who claim to be a supporter of his, you need to get that right. What that man has done and put his name, face, brand, image, and everything on, all the hatred and ridicule and mockery that he's taken, and then you want to jump ship with him because something don't go your way. You want to question him because you don't know the laws and orders in place. You have no right to question this man. You have no right to question him until you know exactly what's going on. And when you know exactly what's going on, you won't be questioning him. Somebody's got to fight for the right people. Somebody has to stand up and fight for these people. It's atrocious what has happened to that man, especially on the liberal side. Liberals, though, at least liberals are different and opposite than they're supposed to be. Why do so many rhinos, Republicans, conservatives replicate the swamp? Why do they look like it? Especially these quote-unquote influencers. It's an atrocity. One's lack of knowledge or understanding is the problem. That's it. Just like the idiot that was in the comment box. They don't want to go look. They don't want to go apply it. They just want to be an instigator in the comment box. So if we did this your way, if everything was done your way, guess what would happen? The swamp would still exist. So all of you who jumped ship with Iran, you got played for a fool. You've already been played for by a fool. And then you jumped straight over to Epstein because you look like an idiot here. Now you're over here jumping on Epstein. You didn't even acknowledge you look like a dumbass right here. And we know who you are. You look like a fool here, and then you jump right over here. And you're going to look like a fool here too as well. You prove you don't listen to the man you claim to support. Listening is a key component. Listening is a key component of all operations. Everything. Everyday life. So you keep your friends close and your enemies closer. You heard that saying out there before? Your friends closer, enemies closer. Well, here's what friends do. If they're a true friend. A true friend's going to tell you, hey, you look fat in that dress. You don't need to wear that dress. It don't compliment you. It makes your butt look big. All right, that's what a friend does. An enemy will sit there and lie to you. They'll tell you everything you want to hear. They'll tell you all that stuff, and they'll belly up to you. And, oh, hey girl, hey guy, hey man. And the whole time they're reaching around behind your back, stealing your wallet. That's what enemies do. And so many liberals right now, but also quote-unquote conservatives, Republicans, everything in quotes, Republicans, conservatives, patriots, President Trump supporters, you're so unskilled, you don't even know, you wouldn't know a wolf if it was your child in sheep's clothing in your living room. Because you're so brainwashed, you're so controlled on social media. And I'm talking about the ones who have heard me before, seen me before, and or, a quote-unquote influencer out there. You're brainwashed, you're controlled. There's a strategic blueprint in place. No matter what idiots look like out there, there's a strategic, unique plan in place. You got to be able to trust some people. The way you trust them is what they're feeding you. The information they're giving you. It's up to you to go read it. Because everybody who's here that's a real patriot in the comment boxes right now, all these people who are real patriots that you see in these comments and all over the other social media pages I have, the real patriots, they've read, they've studied, they comprehend. You want to know why they walk around with a smile on their face? You want to know why they're confident all day long? Because they've read, studied, and comprehended. They have followed me from day one. When I told everybody from day one, I said, don't trust me just because I move my mouth. I give you all the receipts via .gov and .mil sites, all official military and government sites that back up everything. Every bit of these books right here. All of these are nothing but laws and orders from .gov and .mil sites. Current invoked laws and orders. But in a chronological order where you don't have to go put them all together. You can just follow it. Now, I'm sorry that book costs money. But it costs money to print it. So therefore it costs money to do what? for me to make a little bit because of my intellectual property. I'm the one that put all that together, and I'm the only one who's done it. But I've stayed consistent from day one. See this mantle back here? Some of you may not know. All these are gifts from people. Every bit of these things are gifts from people. And I have them all the way down, and I have a room full of gifts from people. Layers of gifts, layers of cards, layers from good people. And we all care about you, but sometimes you have to show tough love to people out there. And someone has to be that. People always say, well, why are you the one that knows? Well, why am I? Let me ask you the same question. Why am I the one who knows? My books already prove I know. My pages already prove I know. Why aren't you reading what you can know? Why are you too busy questioning why and read what's in place? Therefore, you can be what? A contribution to society yourself. Because we're not going to let you people, like the idiots in the comment box, you're identifying yourself. You're putting a big giant red X on yourself, and someone's going to know you. Someone's going to remember you wherever you are. We're not going to ever let you get in a town hall, a city council. You ain't running for mayor. You ain't running for even a dog catcher. Because you're not honest. You're not sincere. You're not seeking to know what you can know. You're not contributing to society. You're not contributing to humanity. All you're doing is whining, complaining, griping, and fussing when you don't have to. That's the whole point of draining the swamp. And when you replicate the swamp, guess what you're going to be treated as? The swamp. So let's get into the meat of it again. There's no way President Trump could have done this as a regular sitting president whatsoever. There's no way. So there's a clear divider line in the sand. People, I had someone ask the other day, where's the divider line at? November the 8th, 2016 was the real clear divider. Everything lawful behind, so meaning November the 8th, 2016, all the way back, separate. That's why they created new dates all along the way. Ukraine has a new date. Israel has a new date. Everything has a new date because the swamp is not going to be able to say they contributed to it. Everything has a new date because President Trump and the people working with President Trump, your generals, your leaders, and your world leaders, they're all going to get the credit for it. Not anybody before November the 8th, 2016. Nobody. From the swamp, the deep state, the cabal. Republican or Democrat. There's no way President Trump could have done this without military laws. Without them. And you need to know how military laws pair with federal. This is why people are lost right now, because people aren't listening and applying that this is a unique strategic operation. Again, he gave you the visuals. He did this. I didn't do that. I didn't go add this on his ball cap. He wears this all the time. It has a significant meaning to it. And if you love this man and you support this man, you should want to go look at what this means in laws and orders. And we had a comment today on Facebook. Why should we have to know laws and orders? You don't even know what we the people means. Do you see them all over? I have a little flag in my yard, and I have a bigger flag that flies, we the people. Do you even know what we the people means? We're the government. We are supposed to know the laws and orders. We are supposed to keep Congress in check. The Constitution is no good for argument, and here's why. The Constitution is a broad governance. It just tells what Congress is supposed to do. The president, executive branch, legislative branch, judicial branch. It just is a broad governance. Laws are under the Constitution. Orders, especially executive orders are enforcements of the law. Executive, the president, enforcing the law that the legislative branch established. That's what you're supposed to know as an American. Remember, on all my former podcasts, remember I used to say 68% of America can't even name the three branches of government? No wonder you look atrocious. No wonder. 68% of 335 million people walking around on the streets who are producing new DNA out there, 68% of Americans cannot name the three branches of government. They cannot say three words. They can't say legislative, executive, judicial. President Trump couldn't do this as a normal sitting president whatsoever. Dominion systems have always existed for many years up until the technology that created them. There's always been cheating in every election, local, state, federal. This isn't new. 2020 isn't new. 2018 isn't new. 2016, Russia, all that stuff's not new. This is an operation. Every single intricate detail from November the 8th, 2016 to present day is under a unique, strategic, pre-planned blueprint. And those who say it's not, you're only trashing special operations military, unconventional warfare, irregular warfare. You're trashing history as well, because this ain't the first time it's ever happened in history that we use the government in exile and the puppet government. Happened from 1943 to 1945, World War II. So you're trashing every military personnel who does know what's going on, but especially those who are still active duty right now, National Guard, reserve components, and also your civil affairs. You're trashing them. President Trump couldn't do it as a normal president. So what do? They do a strategic operation. So they take the same language and verbiage of the corporation, and they are beating them at their own language. So you'll see people out there, rhinos. You'll see quote-unquote patriots saying, oh, you're using all the corporate language. When you're trying to crack a safe, how do you do it? You got to reverse the code of the safe. Some creators of safes can't even reverse out their own safes. That's how safe they are. All pun intended. But with this case, you take all the language and the verbiage and you reverse it on them. You use it against them. That's exactly what's taking place. So 1951, Congress of 1951 violated the Constitution. They violated Article 2, Section 1, Clause 1 of the Constitution. When they put term limits on the president, nowhere in Article 2, Section 1, Clause 1 of the United States Constitution does it say that the Congress is to put term limits on the president. Guess what? George Washington and all those founders back then and the generals, etc., guess what they said back then? They said they thought that a president should only need 2 terms. But they never put in any of our foundational literature, they never put that a president should only serve 2 terms. Nowhere. But even then, the Constitution don't say that. The Constitution gives orders to do other things, that the times and place should be established, this, and that. They don't say that about the presidency. It just says 4 years in a term. It never says anything about how many terms. Roosevelt, Franklin D. Roosevelt, not Teddy. Franklin D. Roosevelt was in his 13th year, his 4th term, when he died in office, all voted in by the people. That was before the deep state that was before the deep state changed it. Roosevelt, December the 8th, 1941, a day after Pearl Harbor, there's a War Powers Act breakdown where he said, when I get done doing what we're doing with the War Powers Act, guess what we're doing? Giving it back to the people. We're giving the power back to the people. That's why you got to know the timeline from 1941, what changed after Roosevelt. You need to know that. It's very specific. It shows where the deep state got deeper in this nation. 1941, that took place. 1949, NATO was established. 1950, we go into Korea. 1951, Congress violates the Constitution, puts term limits on the president, but not the Congress. Why? Why didn't they put term limits on themselves? 1955, Vietnam starts up. 1961, the famous military-industrial complex speech by Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was not only president, but he was also a 5-star general, rare 5-star general. There's not many 5 stars. We've only had 8 5-stars, including admirals, since the Civil War. Only 8. 1963, January, JFK goes around the Federal Reserve, goes straight to the Treasury. Takes $4.6 billion. What happened November 1963, 11 months later? 1968, we left the gold standard. The unified budget took place in 1968. 1971, the Nixon shock. That's when Congress made the dollar as valuable or as invaluable as they want it. That's what you call inflation. 1991, another budget act was passed. The 1991 off budget. 1991, George Bush Sr. had a New World Order speech on September the 11th, 1991. 10 years to the day after that, 9/11 took place. The day before 9/11, Secretary of Defense Rumsfeld stands on world TV and tells the whole world that $2.3 trillion is missing from the Pentagon. Probably need to know your history, people. You probably need to know that. But 1973, I skipped that date on purpose for a reason. 1973, the same Congress who violated the Constitution in 1951, in 1973, they amended the 1941 and 42 Powers Act, War Powers, and made it the War Powers Resolution of 1973. In there, they made it to where a president had to declare a national emergency to use the military. So they were trying to put limits on the president again. That's not how our founders established it. Because if you, the people, we, the people, if we know our laws and orders, if we know our foundation and our premises, if we know what we need, want, and everything in every state out there, and then federally what we need and want, if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, then our representatives will be doing what? Representing us. They'll be doing what they're supposed to be doing because we hold them accountable to the laws and the orders of what we need and want at state levels and federal levels. So if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, well, you wouldn't have any discrepancies between Congress, meaning House representatives and senators doing what they're supposed to be doing with their roles, and what the president and the vice president does with their roles. Then the judicial branch should just be sitting over there doing what they're supposed to be doing, interpreting the law if there is a discrepancy in this and that. But they shouldn't be needed hardly ever. So let's do the best is yet to come. This is what the best is yet to come means. The best. So if we took someone, we won't pick on anybody in the audience, but if we took Jimmy, all right, we're going to take a Jimmy, all right? And if I'm playing Jimmy in chess, but let's just say that I know Jimmy. Let's say Jimmy was talking trash about me, and I said, all right, you know what? I'm gonna play in a game of chess, all right? And let's just say Jimmy had talked trash about me. Let's say Jimmy was a bad person. Let's say Jimmy needed a lesson learned, right? Well, I may not want to beat Jimmy outright because sometimes humiliating your enemy is better than beating them outright. So in the game of chess, the queen protects the king. Now, this is where you got to know and not call this a conspiracy theory because it's not. It's straight up what happened. The Organic Act of 1871. It's when we borrowed money from Britain, the very nation that we fought our independence from less than 100 years before that. In 1871, we borrowed money from them. We get in debt to the crown again, and we never got out of that debt. They tore that up in 1874, and then they reestablished another Organic Act of 1878. President Trump has alluded to this. He said from the 1880s to 1913, our country had more money than they knew what to do with. But they did what? Hid it. He's already told you this in a speech. So you have to know that first. That's not a conspiracy theory like idiots will say. That just shows you people with low IQ. They haven't put all this together. So you don't even pay attention to those people. All right, so 1878. So if I'm the king, right, which I'm not the bad guy, so we'll paint it the other way. So the king is protected by the queen. Well, they showed you a capitulation, which we're going to get to, from 2017 to 2020. There were all these capitulations. But one of them in particular was President Trump walking in front of the queen. And all the liberals went stir crazy. All the liberals said, oh, he don't know etiquette. Look at him. He's a buffoon. He walked in front of the queen. He don't know this. He don't know class. Look at that joke of a leader. They all trashed him. He walked in front of the queen for a reason. Recently, just recently, he said he met with the king and queen of England. And he said, I have to tell you, they're all central casting. So he tells you right out the gate, they're not real. So, if you go back to quote-unquote Biden, he had a speech where it was black and red, evil, devilish. All of his hand gestures that he made in that whole speech replicated Hitler on purpose. All the Marine Corps were not in the correct uniforms by regulations. All right, so there's that. And then, the beautiful thing. President Trump at that time period was making all these different kind of speeches and comms. And it tied in to the best is yet to come. Well, that visual showed quote-unquote Joe on his own. Meaning they'd already taken out England. They'd already taken out the Vatican. D.C. was last on this chessboard. We're not talking about Israel and all the other stuff. We're talking about this on another spectrum. So if I'm playing Jimmy and I knock his queen off, then guess what the king is? The king is stalemate. He's trapped. I didn't beat him. I just bested him, though. That's what the best is yet to come means. I didn't beat you, but I bested you and I trapped you. So guess what Jimmy has to do? All I got to do is say, Jimmy, I have food, water, supplies, and shelter. You don't. So I'm going to sit here until you do what? Raise the white flag. The white flag of surrender. The white flag of truce, which is a law of war manual term. President Trump's used all these terms in all his speeches, which we're going to get to. That's exactly what the best is yet to come means. He just said the best is yet to come again a couple weeks ago. So the best is not here yet. So there's no reason for idiots to be jumping off ship right now. Especially if you really love the man. You look atrocious, and you're going to look even worse. And I'm screenshotting as many as I can. And you're going to have you a little walk of shame when it's all done. All right, the Lord says vengeance is His. He didn't say exposure. So I can expose you. Vengeance is His. The good Lord can punish you. But I'm going to expose you because you're not an influencer. All right, so be careful what you post out there, you quote-unquote investigative journalist, because your ass is going to be grass when this is all said and done. You ain't going to be nowhere remotely close to being a journalist whatsoever. Because you can't lead during the time you're supposed to lead. You can't walk no walk. You can talk the talk, but you can't walk no walk. All right, the best is yet to come. You best somebody. This whole operation was not to just take out a few people. So all of you whining, complaining, and griping about President Trump and this Epstein thing, you wouldn't even know what to do if there was a list. First off, you wouldn't know what to do with it. You wouldn't know how to link it together. You wouldn't know where the money came from, what it was doing, who it was. You wouldn't know that. You look selfish right now for acting like you do. This whole operation is to drain the whole swamp, including the names of people that you don't even know who they are. There are more names on the backside that you don't even know who they are. You've never heard of them. You only know the little poster boys and the poster girls they've shown you. And it ain't that many of them. This whole operation was to trap the swamp, not tell on them. You make them tell on themselves. When you put them in a funnel and they're coming to a wall, all pun intended, when they're coming to this wall, their moves run out. So they have to do what? Start praising President Trump. They have to start telling on themselves. They're not going to hurt or harm you. That's what a military operation is. That's what a military occupation and continuity of government. That's the parameter you need to know. That don't mean that you get lazy just because you know that that's going on. No, you fight the correct way. Because what we have to establish moving forward, we have to establish again what? Check marks and checkpoints and all these different things that identify what the swamp looks like before we get to a swamp again. You identify one little hiccup and we prevent a swamp from happening in the future. That's why most of you look selfish out there with those little pissed attitudes you have out there. That's why you look atrocious and selfish to all of us real patriots. Because what we're doing is saying, hey, don't worry about justice, it's coming. What we need to do and what they're doing right now is setting a new standard and guideline and procedure of laws and orders of what to look for. Kind of like quality assurance or whatever it is you do when you're working in the business world out there. You have all these quality checkpoints. That way, we don't get to a swamp again. If one person does something they're not supposed to be doing, bam, you flag them, you get them before they get there. You don't listen to the man you claim to support. President Trump said, they never fired these people. They fired someone over here from this department and then put them in this department. They never outright fired these people. They kept them in the swamp. That's why it's called the swamp. What's the dude in logistics doing over here in the military all of a sudden? What's the dude over here in military intelligence all of a sudden going over here to logistics? You want skilled people, and President Trump's told you we need to keep and protect IQ people. He's talking about people like me, by the way, and if that's braggadocious, then fine, let it be. Because I can lead you through the mire and the muck. I can lead you through all the pandemonium and chaos, which ain't really that, but if you think it is, I can lead you through it. You want someone who don't panic over the littlest, tiniest little hiccup. June 16, 2015, President Trump rolls down the escalator. June the 12th, though, 4 days before that, the new law war manuals reissued. What are the odds of that? The new law war manual. So military attorneys, and also, well, take that back. Military lawyers, we're going to get the term correct. Military lawyers and federal lawyers took all of your Nuremberg trials, your Lieber codes, all those things, your Geneva Convention, they took all those, and then they took law war manuals from other nations and combined all the good out of those with our as well. Passed. Put them all together and reissued this. What are the odds of that? That President Trump has quoted out of this law war manual multiple times. And we're going to get there. February 2016, Obama was speaking somewhere. And he said, we're going to shut down Guantanamo Bay. Same day, President Trump said, no, we're not. We're not shutting down Guantanamo Bay. Well, Obama had signed an executive order to start the process with Congress to shut down Guantanamo Bay. So from February 2016 all the way to January the 30th, 2018, that's how long it took before President Trump signed Executive Order 13823 to revoke Obama's. So Obama had all that time from February 2016 to November 2016 to try to get Congress to shut down Guantanamo Bay and didn't. Well, what the heck was he doing making a speech about it if it wasn't relevant? President Trump said, oh, no, we're not, and we're going to load it up with a lot of bad dudes. I think he needs to load it up with some of these fake patriots, personally. At least be the janitor, community service, or something of that nature for looking like an idiot when you didn't have to. April 2016, Special Operations Command puts out a new publication. United States Army Special Operations Command puts out the new Unconventional Warfare Pocket Guide command booklet, which outlines the assassination executive order 12333. It outlines government in exile. It outlines all that. It says it specifically. If the United States government does not get on board, the military can still do what? What the military needs to do. It specifically says this, which also shows you the next month, in May 2016. What's the United States Supreme Court doing out of nowhere? Not President Trump's nominees, none of what you're seeing right now, all of Obama's, all of Clinton's, all of their appointees, what are they doing in May 2016 clarifying that military laws are separate from federal laws? Military courts are separate from federal courts. The United States Supreme Court, now do your math again. Obama says we're shutting down Guantanamo Bay. President Trump says no, we're not. February 2016. April 2016. Special Operations Command puts out a new publication with all these things that outlines what exactly is going on right now. May 2016, United States Supreme Court out of nowhere is clarifying that military courts and laws are separate from federal courts and laws. November the 8th, 2016. Remember Hillary? The MFer is going to hang us all. Remember that video that got scrubbed and deleted when she said the MFer is going to hang us all? Remember that? He knows everything. He knows everything. You don't remember that? I mean, the whole world witnessed it. The whole world saw it. The military had already stepped in at that point. That's going to be shown later down the road. But the military had already stepped in at that point with the Dominion systems. Analog, not digital. The military was already on board. There's no way President Trump did this as a normal president whatsoever. The swamp was already there. Just because he had different language and it resonated with all of us that love him, there's no way he did this as a normal, regular president. There's no way. They've always cheated. Always. Republican and Democrat have always cheated. So 2017 to 2021, you watch and witness the resetting of the legislative branch. Our founders put those in an order for a reason. Legislative, executive, and judicial. They're in that order for a reason. Legislative writes the laws, executive enforces the laws, and judicial interprets the laws. Legislative and executive are voted on by we the people. Judicial is nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate. It's all on purpose. So you have your biodefense strategy. Check this out. 2018 biodefense strategy, and I'm going to read a little bit of it. This is 2018 National Biodefense Strategy. It is the vital interest of the United States to manage the risk of biological incidents. In today's interconnected world, biological incidents have the potential to cost thousands of American lives, cause significant anxiety, and greatly impact travel and trade. Now listen to this. Now this is 2018. Biological threats, whether naturally occurring or incidental or accidental or deliberate in origin, are among the most serious threats facing the United States and international community. Outbreaks of disease can cause catastrophic harm to the United States. They can cause death, sicken, and disable on a massive scale, and they can also inflict psychological trauma and economic and social disruption. This is the 2018 National Biodefense Strategy. Telling you exactly what was coming in 2020. It was a retaliation by the deep state. Just days before President Trump took his oath, January 2017, just days before, Fauci was at Georgetown University. And he said specifically that you can go see to this day on YouTube that this new administration will most definitely see an outbreak. How did he know that? So 2020, again, retaliation by the deep state. Those are all in my documents. I already put there, published 2021. Those books that I wrote stem from the documents that I wrote. It's all deep state retaliation. So see, when you take out the key players, and all of their what? Accomplices don't have their key player to get on the phone with or communicate with, well, they have what? These little things that they do after a certain time. They don't hear from somebody. They're to do certain things. So many of you watch TV shows and you watch movies about this, but you don't want to believe it when it happens to you right in front of you. Atrocious. Unique laws and orders outline and define a strategic and special operation. 2017 to 2020, there were all these capitulations. They're called capitulations. You saw President Trump hand the the trophy to the sumo wrestler. The emperor is supposed to do that. All right, Japan. He was the first foreign leader in the forbidden city of China in 500 plus years. He walked in front of the queen. India's Prime Minister Modi praised him and praised him and praised him. He left the dude on the stage, the Argentinian president on the stage. He pushed all those people out of the way at the NATO convention. I mean, he's done all these things. The Saudi Arabia crown, the sword dance and all that. All these things were capitulations. All of them. Every bit of those. Russia handing the soccer ball to him. There's so many breakdowns we could do of all this, and I've broken it all down. It would take 7 hours to break it all down in one time. June 2018. June 2018. The Army started putting, my branch started putting out that we're spending $572 million for our next wars will be in mega cities, not inside them, but beneath them. President Trump is the first president to establish a publication, strategic plan for subterranean warfare. $572 million. The Defense Intelligence Agency, 2019, put out a publication about Iran. It's all there. 2019, also August 2019, Jonhson loses a court case in the state of Oklahoma. Washington Examiner and all them putting out articles about it. They lost an opioids case. Who wrote the executive order to combat opioids in the U.S.? President Trump. Executive Order 13784. 2017. Jonhson & Jonhson, aren't they the ones that had a little thing called for quote-unquote 2020, right? Wasn't that one of the names? Jonhson & Jonhson? No relation to me, thank God. Whoever they are. No relation to me. President Trump was one who said follow the money. He's also said we're not paying for anything anymore. Other people will. Have you noticed the tariffs? Have you noticed all the things that's benefiting us now? The world took advantage of us. Now we're getting it back. He's the one who said we're not paying for it anymore. If you go look in that court case. So here's May 2019. Army publication puts out a publication that says Shaping the Deep Fight. Talks about subterranean warfare, our future. Says $572 million. So our officers in the military were already learning what fight was coming in May 2019. After Army, military, and all other kind of publications put out in June 2018 and 2018 that our military was spending $572 million for subterranean warfare, 26 of 31 brigades to fight underground, subterranean, underground tunnels, DUMBs, deep underground military bases. Exactly what that is. June 2018. Then you fast forward May 2019. Army publications. Army spending. All ties in 572, 572, 572. And all of a sudden Jonhson & Jonhson loses a court case in the same time period the Iran publication comes out. And Jonhson & Jonhson loses a court case the same month, and they're having to force a fine of $572 million. And you think that's a coincidence? And you think it's a coincidence that President Trump is the first president to establish a subterranean warfare plan? We've never had a plan, strategic plan for that before. That's supposed to be all a coincidence? December the 20th, 2019. Democrat-controlled House. A Democrat-controlled House of Representatives. Under President Trump, December the 20th, 2019, a Democrat-controlled House of Representatives introduces the war order that was passed by the Republican Senate and amended in Title 50, Chapter 33, which is Section 1550. Democratic House introduced the war order that every single troop has been operating under since that day. That you've seen with the reserve components and the National Guard. President Trump beating the deep state at their own game. He declared all those national emergencies. So if I'm a conspiracy theorist and all this is bullshit, then explain why, quote-unquote, Joe Biden continued 8 executive orders with 8 national emergencies, all by President Trump, that are deporting illegal migrants, taking the Panama Canal back, enforcing Doge. Do you know that, quote-unquote, Joe funded Doge in the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021? Do you know that they displayed to you that, quote-unquote, Joe had Democrat House and Democrat Senate, full, complete control? Democrat President, Democrat House, Democrat Senate. That's what it would replicate. That's what it would look like. I know it wasn't real, but for the people that thought it was, old quote-unquote Joe had a Democrat everything, and he couldn't revoke one single thing by President Trump. That's a war order whatsoever. Oh, he's a threat to democracy and violate the Constitution and a dictator, and he can't revoke anything. Just hands it right back to President Trump on January the 20th, 2025. That's why these people in the comment box saying there's no COG, they're deep state. They're just straight up low IQ idiots. All these people calling themselves influencers. They don't even know that simple thing. And there's no way you can say that President Trump is one of them, because none of it reflects what they do and what they did in the past. It don't even reflect that. It don't even reflect any of the things that the Republicans did in our past. So anybody who's saying that he's one of them, you're also stupid. You're also ignorant. And then the people out there who said Obama's behind the scenes pulling the strings. So Obama continued 8 executive orders with 8 national emergencies that are deporting the illegal migrants. He established the cages, remember. He's the one who put the kids in the cages, remember. You probably should go watch Louis Herm's video of the cages. You might want to go do some research there. All right. So Obama continued all these things. That's taking back the Panama Canal. Enforcing Doge. He's the one that wrote the digital service. He's the one that actually wrote the executive order. So all of a sudden, you think President Trump is a part of them? Are you really that ignorant to think that? Laws and orders don't show that whatsoever. But see, that's the thing. If you go read the laws and orders, you'd be able to apply the laws and orders in the way that they're actually there. So under December the 20th, 2019, under that war order, Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550, it says every 180 days after that date, which it put the date in there, and it says every 180 days thereafter, the President shall report to the defense committees the use of military force, regular and irregular force. Well, irregular is your special operations. So straight out the gate, anybody who says this is all hogwash, straight out the gate it says regular or irregular. Irregular is your clandestine, your covert operations, your secret operations, your unconventional warfare, your irregular warfare. Exactly what the word irregular means. So straight out the gate, you're crapping on every veteran that knows what's going on. You're crapping on every service member, and you're crapping on every memorial grave out there if you say all this is hogwash. Because there's laws and orders with visuals of the enforcement of this taking place up to this date, July the 10th, 2025. You're crapping on every grave. And personally, I'd love to punch the ever-living shit out of you if you're a male. I'd put one right there. You'd be crying really quick. And your nose, everything be watering. Because you're shitting on every grave. You're shitting on every person that me and all my brothers and sisters in arms have known to pass in uniform. You're shitting on their grave when you do that. This ain't got a thing to do with me. It's got a thing to do with them. And I won't forget the men who died who gave that right to me. They gave you the right to look like a freaking idiot. But some of us are not going to let you look like a freaking idiot. You're stepping on many toes out there, I'm going to tell you what right now, especially you guys, especially you males. You look atrocious, and some of you need a dirty, stanky, sweaty sock crammed down your freaking throat and duct tape around it where you can enjoy whatever it is my feet have been through. And I would step in the biggest pile of cow shit before I put that sock on, and I'd put that sock through everything. Tabasco sauce, habanero peppers, dog shit, cow shit, chicken shit, cat shit, and I'm going to put it like that, and I'm going to stuff it down your freaking throat. We're going to duct tape that shit until you learn some stuff. This is atrocious what people are looking like right now. It's atrocious. It's disgusting. It's despicable. You have no right to look like this whatsoever. The end goal is to unite, but we can't unite as long as people look atrocious over simple, foundational structure of the United States of America. Executive Order 13912. So, under December the 20th, 2019, move into 2020. Your State of the Union address was the first time you had ever heard of COVID was a State of the Union address by President Trump. All right, then you move forward. You go to March 13th. He declared a verbal national emergency, which is a little different than executive order. He declared a verbal national emergency. March 23rd, all your mainstream media started putting out all these different things. They started putting out that, President Trump's to install a general just in case the law breaks down. No, you don't install a general, ladies and gentlemen. They're already a general by rank. It's called a chain of command, and they're at the top of the chain before the commander-in-chief. That's why they're a general. You don't install a general. What they were telling you back then is in case the law breaks down. Well, what they were saying is when the law breaks down, that means martial law, which means when martial law is in place, that's a military occupation. That's all martial law is a military occupation. Military operation. Continuity of government. Because your regular writ of habeas corpus, which is constitutional, but it's Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2. Article 1 is the legislative branch. So it's the legislative branch who suspends the writ of habeas corpus. You hear the saying, suspend the Constitution? Well, it's the suspension of writ of habeas corpus. Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2. Article 1 is the legislative branch, not the president. That's Article 2, the executive branch. So all you whiners, bitchers, complainers, gripers, and all you quote-unquote influencers out there saying, that's unconstitutional. It's not unconstitutional. The legislative branch is the one who suspends it. And it's a what? It's a rebellion or invasion of public safety. That's exactly what took place. President Trump during that time period was asked by the media, are you a wartime president? They sat there and told you. They told you the whole time. Him taking pictures with me validates everything. But because we're still in a partial continuity government, he don't share stuff of mine. And that's why some of you have a hard time believing it. Because you're not reading anything. You're not trying to comprehend what you're reading. You just want to go over to some comment box and look like the cool one or the funny one or all that other stuff. You just want to be a part of something. You want to be in a social club. You want to be in the country club. You want to be in the butterfly club and all this other bull crap out there. You just want to be part of the club. You don't want to be a part of the solution. You just want to be the one commenting. That's it. If you're looking like that. Executive Order 13912 came 4 days after that comment of in case the law breaks down. Executive Order 13912, March 27, 2020. Invoke Title 10, Section 12302. Every one of us veterans that's ever taken the oath, active duty and reserve components, we took an oath under Title 10, Section 502. You can't have one Title 10 without the other. The Title 10 is presidential authority. It's also known as the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which is Chapter 47. Executive Order 13912. So no veteran out there can say it's hogwash. It was invoked. It has nothing to do with, it's 5 years old. It has nothing to do with it. And it ain't been revoked. So see there again, this is unconstitutional. What President Trump's doing, blah, 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 blah. It hadn't been revoked. Why didn't quote-unquote Joe revoke that executive order? Why did he leave it in place? It takes a president to revoke an executive order. Why didn't quote-unquote Joe get Congress to amend Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550, and why didn't he revoke Executive Order 13912? Why didn't he revoke it? It takes a president to do that. It's called an executive order for a reason. It's still in place to this day. Executive Order 13919, April the 30th, 2020. President Trump gave a direct order to the Secretary of Defense that federalization, equal authority, or the federalization of selective reserves. That's a direct order. Executive Order 13961 was in December 2020. So in the second 180 days. Executive Order 13961 was the invoking of continuity government. I guess that's why 3 days before President Trump took his oath, January the 20th, 2017, 3 days before, FEMA and Department of Homeland Security were putting out a new federal continuity directive, FCD1, which is the umbrella for continuity government. And then on June 13th, 2017, that's why the same people, FEMA and DHS, put out a Federal Continuity Directive 2, which is the implementation plan for the FCD1. So this is your umbrella. FCD2 is your implementation. Is that also why the military put out joint strategy up here? They put a joint strategy here. I think it's 3.0. That coincides, same day as January the 17th, 2017, the military is putting out a joint publication for continuity government strategy as the Federal Continuity Directive 1. And then June 13th, Federal Continuity Directive 2, on June 13th. On June 16th, the military puts out Joint Planning 5.0, which is the planning portion for the military joint plan. And that's supposed to be a coincidence. And it's also supposed to be a coincidence that 3 days after the invocation of continuity government, 3 days, December the 10th, 2020, the most recent to July 10th, 2025, and the most recent and the last order of succession within the Department of Defense is from Executive Order 13963, 3 days after the invocation of continuity government. Did you know that every president has had an order of succession within the Department of Defense except for Joe Biden? Is that also why the last national security strategy that's archived on the Secretary of Defense, the Department of Defense, is that why the last national security strategy is 2017? Where's quote-unquote Joe's from 2022? Where is it? Why doesn't the Secretary of Defense archives and the Department of Defense, why don't they recognize that national security strategy? I mean, that's your military. Not recognizing it. I'm pretty sure it's 2025. I'm pretty sure they've had plenty of time to update the site and put that little picture up there like all the other photos they have of all of them since the origin of it in 1988. I'm pretty sure that they've had plenty of time to go in there and put a little emoji up like that. Here you go, 2022, National Security Strategy. Why are all these things not there that every other president has had, except for quote-unquote Joe? That's why I want to punch people that's a male, like the idiot we had earlier in the comment box. That's why talking don't get it done. Laws and orders don't get it done. All right, if you're not going to listen, that don't get it done. You might need a ball of knuckles right across that noggin of yours to say, all right, well what's it going to take? What's it going to take to get you to freaking listen? Do you want to be a part of humanity, or you want to just keep being a whiner, complainer, griper, and a fusser? You want to be an instigator in the comment box? Because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other patriots like me that feel the same way, and they're tired of your ass. They're tired of you. And you ain't going to get out in the street because you ain't already done that. So you're clearly a keyboard warrior. Statute 133. Statute 133, 2019. It outlines, it's 3,613 pages long. See, all these little instigators, that one little statute, this is just your national defense authorization of all of what took place in 2019 by the military laws, like meaning what we paid for. 3,613 pages. That's just one little thing of all the things I've read. You can't compete where you don't compare. So you probably want to get off of my page because I will get you eventually. I'm going to block you as soon as I see you right here. Here you go. Here we go. Right here. Got you. Blocked. Done. Got him out of there. Can't stand these people, man. See, and then they'll turn around and they'll be the ones that say you block people because you can't handle this, that, and other. I show all the receipts. Everything is in receipts. If you got a problem with me, you just got a problem. You got a real problem. You have a major problem. I show all the receipts. There should be no one mad at me. Why are you mad at a veteran for showing you what you're supposed to know? Anyway, Statute 133, Iran. Iran's already accounted for in Statute 133. And in there, before it's on page 1726. Go to page 1726. All right. And you'll see Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550. Boom. But right above it, out of all the 3,613 pages, right above that Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550, which is the war order, right above it, they put a little phrase in there. It's from Title 22, Section 8784. Title 22, Chapter, I have to go back and look at a chapter, but doesn't matter. 22, U.S. Code, Section 8784. They put this excerpt in there. And it tells you that Iran is not going to be basically a war. It's just an operation. They already put this way back in 2019. Way back here. So look at all the rhinos. They're really rhinos. They're not President Trump supporters. They're rhinos. And a lot of them are never Trumpers. You know, the people who said, well, I had to vote for him because that was all we had to vote for. Those people. They're showing their colors now. Because if they knew what they're supposed to know, back here in Statute 133, Iran's already accounted for. And it wasn't going to be a war. It's a strategic operation. December 2023, Continuity Planning Framework for the Federal Executive Branch. December 2023, don't all the normies think that quote-unquote Joe was the president in December 2023? So what is FEMA and Department of Homeland Security, again, under Federal Continuity Directive 1 and Federal Continuity Directive 2, putting out all these publications under those that replicate the continuity government? So the dude who just got blocked, who said there's not a continuity government going on, well, why does this, it says it right here. It says it on here. Continuity Planning Framework for the Federal Executive Branch. And guess what's referenced all over it? Executive Order 13961, which is your continuity government, December the 7th, 2020. And then, quote-unquote, Joe partially revoked that on the last full 24-hour day of a presidency. He's partially revoking So if he was president and had he'd have had all the power and authority that every other president had. So if President Trump's a threat to democracy, which we're not a democracy, Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution, and Federalist Papers number 10 and 14 show we're not, by the father of the Constitution, and the one who wrote the Constitution, Article 4 of the Constitution says we're not a democracy. All right, but if all this was hogwash, then why does all this say that? And then why would quote unquote Joe? Why would he partially revoke? Why wouldn't he revoke it on January the 20th, 2021, July 2021, 2022, 2023? The last full 24-hour day of a presidency, quote unquote Joe let a continuity of government, all in law, run from December the 7th, 2020 to the last full day of a presidency. So there's these things called congressional reports. And I just posted this today. Congressional reports. Iran congressional reports. So every president, Obama had 20 presidential reports from 2009 to 2016. 20 presidential reports. Secretary of State had some, Secretary of Defense, etc. But talking about the president. Obama had 20 presidential reports about Iran alone to the Congress. President Trump had 4. from 2017 to 2019. 4. The last presidential report about Iran was 2019. So December the 20th, 2019. Where the Democratic House introduced the war order passed by the Republican Senate under President Donald John Trump. The last presidential report from 2019, it went from 2019 to December the 23rd, 2024. From 2021, 2022, 2023, and all of 2024, quote unquote, Joe didn't have a single presidential report for Iran, and he's supposed to be president. But see, what people will do, the people who haven't read, the people who want to instigate in the comment boxes, those people who haven't read, right, and the people that we've all had to address, these influencers and all these people who don't know anything because they're not in operations, they're not tasked like veterans are. See, if we had a mandatory callback right now, if we had an involuntary callback on every veteran, guess who's not going? Them. Guess who is? I really shouldn't have to say any more after that. But the average person out there would say that, oh, there's a report there, December 23rd, 2024, that's Joe Biden. The average who haven't read, studied, comprehended. Because you've heard me talk about it before. In Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550, the war order, when you look up the single page for it on house.gov, when you look up the single page, if you scroll down to the bottom, there's an executive document there. Very important. You've heard me break it down before. There's an executive document there. So remember again, December the 20th, 2019, from that date when the war order was introduced by Congress, Title 50 is Congress, not presidential, Title 50. Chapter 33 is your War Powers Act. Section 1550 was not in there until December the 20th, 2019. Democratic House introduced it, Republican Senate passed it. There was not a presidential report on Iran from December the 20th, 2019 until December 23rd, 2024. Now, this is how you answer people about that December 23rd, 2024 not being quote-unquote Joe. Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550. In the very bottom, there's an executive document there. And it specifically is quote-unquote Joe Biden on July 19, 2021 relinquishing, and it says delegating, I hereby delegate the authority and functions vested in the President of Section 1550 to the Secretary of Defense. That is quote-unquote Joe for the normies, relinquishing his duty, his authority as a Commander-in-Chief, as a President to the Secretary of Defense. Because Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550 had already given a command what is going on. Every 180 days after December the 20th and every 180 days thereafter. It tells you the first 180 days and every 180 days thereafter. That order has not been revoked. Executive Order 13912 has not been revoked. Executive Order 13919 has not been revoked. Executive Order 13961 has a partial revocation, meaning we're still in continuity of government. Executive Order 13963 is the most recent and last order of succession within the Department of Defense. Every other president has had one except for quote-unquote Joe. It shows you we're still in a partial continuity of government and military occupation. That executive document is quote-unquote, it's specific. It says as president. Instead of it say as the president of the Constitution, that's a general comment. Every other one looks like that starting out. It says as president of the Constitution. So people don't hear the terminology. It don't say as the president, meaning an emphasis on which president. It says as president of the Constitution, I hereby delegate the authority and functions vested in the president. There's your who was the president of Section 1550? Well, who was the president December the 20th, 2019? The Secretary of Defense don't have Title 10 authority. The president does. The Secretary of Defense has Title 50 authority, not the Secretary of Defense. So when President Trump And the Congress put this in back here. Bipartisan Congress put that in. The executive orders under that are all Title 10 authority, which are presidential only. That's your Uniform Code of Military Justice as well. Again, Chapter 47 of Title 10. Secretary of Defense don't have Title 10 authority. So even though it says I'm delegating the authority and functions vested in the President of Section 1550 to the Secretary of Defense and to the Congress, who's the Secretary of Defense directly under? Commander-in-Chief. Where did the order originate? December 20, 2019. Real simple. All right, so 2021 to 2025. So 2017 to 2021 was the resetting of the legislative branch. All these unique laws and orders put into place that set up the continuity of government, military occupation, military operation, government in exile, puppet government, unconventional warfare, irregular warfare. All those were unique bylaws and orders. That's why this is a strategic plan. You hear me like a broken record. This whole thing is an operation. This didn't stop right here and then, it went away and then, it started again. It ain't like that. Everything you're watching right now is not real time from that standpoint. The whole thing is a strategic, unique, special operation. Pre-planned. So when you have a continuity of government, then you know that you have a Presidential Emergency Action Document, which are PEADs for short. One of the dumb haters from 2 years ago who tried to steal my trademark and all that, this idiot was out there telling people that the president can't have expanded powers. That once he serves his terms, it's done. This is how stupid people are. And you have to use the term stupid because they're putting it out there. It's different if you're asking a legit question. But when you put it out there, you're showing your stupidity. All right. Continuity of government was established by President Eisenhower, who was a 5-star general. Presidential emergency action documents coincide with the continuity of government. They're a part of it. Presidential emergency action documents are executive orders, proclamations, national emergencies, and treaties. Do you know what the 4 ways military pairs with federal laws are? Executive orders, proclamations, national emergencies, treaties. The 4 components of how military pairs with federal are the same components of a presidential emergency action document. Not what the swamp did with Jimmy Carter and all the other presidents who declared national emergencies. They declared them the wrong way, and of abuse of power with the deep state swamp. President Trump is executing the laws and the orders as President Eisenhower and the continuity government, which was before the 1973 violation of Congress with the War Powers Act. But he's still using the War Powers Act, using their own game against them. But the Presidential Emergency Action documents, to prove those, they're draft classified, so you can't Google them. But to prove it, March this year, President Trump said, I've signed over 400 executive actions since, and he didn't say the date, but he meant since January the 20th, 2025. There were only 150 in the Federal Register at that point. Where were the other 250? Federal Register is public. That's all public for you to look at. Where were they? Where are they? They're still not there. From that date. He signed 166 executive orders right now, the last I looked. Where's the other 250 from that 150 from March? Where are they? PEADs, Presidential Emergency Action Documents. You have proof of it. But you may and may not, they may not even have to unveil some of those in history, but down the road, you'll have the full answers. And it ain't far off, but down the road. But right now, they're draft classified. PEADs expand the power of the president because those are pre-planned. So you have right there the 2018 National Biodefense Strategy, and it reads word for word everything you saw in 2020. It's because they knew the deep state was going to retaliate. That's why he told you we have everything under control. You don't listen to the commander-in-chief. And a lot of you don't listen. Not you patriots, but a lot of the others don't listen because you don't appreciate the military. You say you love the military, but you separate military laws, military orders, military regulations, military tactics, military strategies, because you don't know anything about them. And then you want to sit there and say, the others want to say, well, how can you know? You didn't serve 20, 30 years. You ask all the wrong questions. Instead of going and looking why people do follow me and why my books are number one bestsellers, they're number one because of patriots, real patriots. They're number one not because I made them number one. These people made them number one. These real, true, hardcore patriots, which are true American people who want to make a difference in the world. And they are making a difference. And we're also going to lead the world into the new world, not order, but the new world for humanity. Presidential emergency action documents expand the power of the president. And they're pre-planned. So they knew what was coming, and they knew the deep state was going to retaliate. So they already had everything safeguarded and ready the best they could, depending on what strings they pulled when the people... Because President Trump put a line in the sand, and he gave everybody a chance to come across that line. The ones who don't, guess what they are? The ones being funneled to the wall. The ones that's going to raise the white flag. The ones who are going to expose themselves. So why are influencers looking like that? Influencers look the same way. They look just like the swamp. Now, they could be good people, but they look like the swamp. So you don't want to look like the swamp. This is a strategic plan. PEDs are pre-planned. When you have evidence of a continuity of government, you have evidence of a PED. You have it. And this man, President Donald John Trump, has done everything to the standard of the Constitution, the Foundation, the Declaration of Independence, the Federalist Papers, the Bill of Rights, everything. Military tactics, military strategies, military everything, special operations, unconventional warfare, irregular warfare. This man has done everything to the T. When he says we have it all, we call them all, it's for a reason. Don't jump ship. Don't jump ship on this man. Don't jump ship on the military. Don't jump ship on people who are keeping our oath and doing what we're supposed to be doing. Don't jump ship. But don't expect not to be called out when you do. Because you don't have to. All these influencers, you look unnecessary. It's all unnecessary. Because there's a strategic plan in place. And what you're doing is unnecessary. You're only exposing yourselves. So then you got to go. You got to roll from December 2020. You got to roll into January 2021, and this is how you roll into it. So on January the 1st, 2021, FEMA, Department of Homeland Security, again, drum roll, again under Federal Continuity 1, Federal Continuity 2, again, January the 1st, they put out a publication showing you we're leaving the legislative portion, even though the laws and orders were still in vogue there, but we're going into the executive branch, going to clean it out. January the 1st, 2021, FEMA, DHS puts out a continuity directive. It's called Reconstitution of the Executive Branch. Reconstitution, by definition, means to take something and put it back into its original state. So they're telling you that the executive branch was not in its original state. Well, it hadn't been that in many years. All right. So, January the 1st. January the 6th. Very easy to break down. All the libtards out there, they look like a rat on the glue pad. They got hung on J6 because they didn't know anything else. You Republicans don't need to look like that either. 2020 wasn't the only thing stolen. All right, 2020 was all part of the strategic plan. The military was put out. The military was activated for 2018, 2020, 2022, and 2024 elections. Nowhere in history before 2018 were the military ever out for election. And if military personnel are at election polls in uniform, but they're not there on official duty by the president, which is federal, Title 10 again, which requires them to be federalized, to be at the polls on official capacity, if they're not there in official capacity by presidential authority and presidential orders, Title 10, Title 18, Section 592, shows that military personnel can be tried and convicted and fined for being at polls trying to do what? Influence people or do all kinds of other things. They're there to repel armed enemies of the United States. So President Trump ain't the only one who told you that the National Guard were federalized for the election polls in 2018, 2020, 2022, 2024. The National Guard military sites put this out. And they said they're doing what? Operating with whom? Our Cyber Command and National Security Command. I'm at loss for words. Why people can't see that. You go to Google, simple Google, type in, were the military involved in 2008 election? It says no. 2012, no. The only time, 2018, 2020, 2022, 2024. National Guard, yes, 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 yes. This didn't have anything to do with 2020 alone. It just so happens that was the presidential election with President Trump. The first one that they could use for this strategy, for this operation. What are the odds that all the same 7 swing states of 2020 were the same 7 swing states of 2024? Get out of here. Right? There's so many things it's just simple you can go with. Before you even get to Executive Order 13848 with the national emergency, why would quote-unquote Joe Biden, quote-unquote Kamala, why would quote-unquote Obama, quote-unquote all Democrats, Schumer, Pelosi, all of them, Warren, Sanders, all these people, why would they continue Executive Order 13848 with a national emergency? That's one of those 8 executive orders with 8 national emergencies that quote-unquote Joe and the quote-unquote Joe Biden administration continue. Why would they do that? That one order out of all the 8 can just debunk every single idiot out there. Why would they do that? Because they clearly didn't do anything to stop President Trump if he was doing anything unlawful. All right? They didn't do what? They didn't release the Epstein files under quote-unquote Biden. If President Trump was on there, they could have lawfully stopped President Trump from being president because of that. They could have also convicted President Trump with the 14th, 18th, and 25th Amendment for being at the Texas border. He's the only one who with a presidential title who was at the Texas border in 2024. He was the only one who has an order in place to put the National Guard in active duty in New York in 2022 and 2023. There's no order there from quote-unquote Joe. So you saw visualization of the New York National Guard going to the subways in 2022 and 2023. There's no Title 10 order there during that time period. The only one is March 27, 2020. So the military was still listening to President Trump. There's no other Title 10 during that time period. The only Title 10 order to put them there was back in 2020. He met with 12 foreign leaders 13 different times from April 2024 to December 2024 at Mar-a-Lago, at Trump Tower, which is a private establishment. It was quote-unquote Vice President, but we didn't even quote. It was the real Vice President Biden. And President Trump told you this on the campaign. It was you, Joe. It was you, Joe. He told you in 2020, it was you, Joe. It was you who recommended the Logan Act, 18 United States Code, Section 953, which is private correspondence with a foreign leader. What did you see happen to General Michael Flynn? Stripped of everything, drove through the mud, ridiculed, mocked, harassed, all these things. It was Joe Biden who recommended the Logan Act on General Flynn. But now, quote-unquote, Joe Biden as president can't use the same Logan Act, Title 18, which are federal crimes, by the way. Title 18 is your federal crimes and criminal procedures, being in federal law. He can't even use the same Logan Act when you have clear visuals of President Trump meeting with all these foreign leaders from April to December 2024. See how stupid these people look? You have to use the term stupid. Ignorant means you can be educated. Ignorant just means you don't know, and you can know, and if you'll take this, then you can know. And hey, look, you look ignorant right now. Ignorance is not even really a bad word. It means that you ignore ignorance. My dad used to tell me all the time, you ignore ignorance. Because ignorance just means you don't know that you don't know, and you can be told if you're willing to what? Know. Stupid means that you're sitting here blatantly telling a retired United States Army veteran, you're telling me, who has shown the whole world via laws and orders from military and federal that are currently invoked, that everybody can look at, no matter who you are, what you're married to, who you're married to, what you like, what you don't like, red, black, yellow, whatever, interracial, this, gay, Buddhist, atheist, whatever heck you are, doesn't matter. There's all kinds of walks of life who support President Trump. Therefore, he can't be any of the isms that they claim he is, because he has every walk of life who loves him. So you can know all this. I mean, I feel like a bobblehead sometimes. I'm like, it's not this dumb. So when you put in writing that this is hogwash, BS, this, that, you don't have to like it, but it's still there. I've had people who wanted to fight me, legitimately meet me and fight me. And I'm like, okay, I'm a disabled veteran. I can't operate and function anymore like that. But let's say I could, and let's say you whoop my ass. All right, I'm going to lay on the ground with my personality. I'd be spewing blood and my teeth falling out and everything else, and I'm still going to be like, laws and orders are still in place, asshole. Get over it. Laws and orders still in place. So it don't matter if you kill me, you can kill me. Right now, someone could walk in here and shoot me. Guess what? Laws and orders are still in place that outline exactly what they outline. So it don't matter if you don't like it, you hate it, you can't stand it, you can't stand me, you don't like me, you hate me, it don't matter. The laws and orders are still there. And they outline exactly what they outline. So if you are a President Trump supporter and you do love President Trump, then you should want to know exactly what the man's working with, and you can exonerate him in your own little mind already out there. And you can love him more and support him more and not look atrocious, especially following all these influencers who have no idea what's going on, and or they're regurgitated. January the 6th, the whole world witnessed, U.S. history take place. 2 objections took place in the state of Arizona. 2 objections. Title 3, Section 15 tells you exactly what to do. There's our Constitution again telling you what to do. Very bottom of it. No votes are to be counted until all the objections are disposed of. Well, what did you see that day? Quote unquote, an insurrection took place. Quote unquote. All right. President Trump said everybody to be peaceful. It's all in writing what he said. Be peaceful. Don't do this. Don't do that. Be peaceful. That's not inciting violence whatsoever that the left claimed of him. All right. So just on the surface, he didn't do any of that. All right. And then conveniently on TV, when you're watching certification, Alabama, checkmark, went to President Trump. Alaska, checkmark, went to President Trump. The third state out the gate. The third state. They didn't wait. Third state. Boom. 2 objections. Well, Title 3, Section 15 tells you what to do when there are objections. That didn't take place. Conveniently, 2 20,000-pound doors just conveniently open from the inside. And this fence that people see on TV getting pushed forward, you can't push that little rinky-dink fence over. If that was a real quote-unquote insurrection, that fence, that little flappy little fence wouldn't have... Come on, people. God Almighty, help us, Jesus. I don't mean that sacrilegiously. I truly mean God Almighty, help us, Jesus. Some of the people out there, you look atrocious to think all this stuff was real. All right? Quote-unquote insurrection took place immediately after world history took place. 2 objections in the state of Arizona. Any state wouldn't matter. 2 objections. And then when the smoke cleared, remember Nancy drunk Losi? Remember that? She was, I'm so flustered, I'm so scared. Oh, they were so scared, but they went right in, and from California to Wyoming, certified quote-unquote Joe. They did not. So it don't matter if that would have been a real insurrection. It don't matter what would have happened. It don't matter. If that was real, you can't go by law. You can't do what law says in Title 3, Section 15, your job as a Senate and House. You can't do your job as prescribed in the law. You couldn't find out the discrepancies, what happened in the state of Arizona. See, that's the simple. Even though I know this is all operational, for the simple out there, for the average people out there who don't know military, operation, occupation, continuity, government, all that, just on the simple. You can't agree that you witnessed Congress break federal law. That's what you witnessed. Title 3, Section 15, Title 18. The seditious acts to overthrow government. That's what you witnessed. Title 18, Section 2381, 2384, 2385. See, what patriots are supposed to do, patriots have done it. But what people are supposed to do, when you hear me quote all these things, you're supposed to go back and watch these videos, write this down. You don't have to write it down if you could afford a book. But it's all on my videos, all on my pages. You're supposed to go look these up. If you don't want to buy that book right there, then you're supposed to go look all these up and read these and go, dang, so this just had to overthrow the government. Oh, federal crime here. Oh, dispose of the votes. No vote counts until disposing of the objections. That's what everybody witnessed that day. And the liberals look atrociously stupid. Now you really have to apply stupid to the liberals because they look stupid. That's exactly what took place that day. They all used the word Constitution. They used law and order out of their mouth, but they don't know how to apply the laws and the orders. They only want the laws when they want the laws to pay for their surgeries and pay for their welfare and pay for their EBT cards and all that other bullcrap that you and I are really actually paying for. That's all they're mad about right now. That's why liberals need to be deported. Most liberals right now need to be deported. They're ungrateful to this nation. They're ungrateful for the military. They're ungrateful for their foundation that's protected by the military. So why do Republicans, conservatives, and quote-unquote some patriots, but especially quote-unquote patriot influencers, replicate them? Why? This is a time period right now where this ain't about popularity and face and like being famous and I'm the one that broke the news and all that. It's not about that. This is a military operation. Therefore, you need what? Military personnel who knows what's going on. Again, if we had an involuntary callback, it ain't them going. It's me going. It wouldn't be you. It would be all of us veterans that would be going, because we're the ones under an oath. Our oath don't expire, by the way. So, in the Executive Order 13848 with the national emergency, signed September the 12th, 2018, that executive order for election interference was signed 2 months before any election under President Trump. 2 months before the National Guard were called up for 2018. 2 years and 2 months before 2020, President Trump signs Executive Order 13848 with national emergency. That quote-unquote Joe continued 4 years in a row just to hand back, still active to this day, just to hand back to President Trump January the 20th, 2025. Again, election interference. Think about that. Now, in this executive order, it specifically says this. It specifically says, although no foreign power has altered the outcome or vote tabulation. Although no foreign power has altered the outcome. Well, President Trump's already told you our gravest threats are not abroad, they're within. The deep state, the swamp, the cabal, the global alliance. Our gravest threats are not abroad, they're within. He said we're going to end defense contracts and we're ending lobbyists because all they do is make excuses to keep us in war. He's had to be delicate with all this because of all the veterans out there of Vietnam, Korea, World War II who's still living, very few still left, Korea who's living, Vietnam who's living, and every conflict between there. He's had to be delicate because, again, until people can be educated on what took place and why it took place. Every soldier who went and raised their right hand under Title 10 and or Title 32 if you're National Guard, even though that's still up under military and presidential, but still, every person who raised our right hand, most of them, not all, but most are good people. And they may not have known why they were serving, laws and orders-wise, but they can know. And they should be given a hall pass because they still at least serve their nation. All right, and that's what they all get. But President Trump has to be delicate with that. So that's why all this stuff has to be real delicate. Right? Real delicate. So, let me see here. I see another troll in the comments. So let's see here. The troll don't even have a face up. Don't even have a face. Imagine that. Don't even have a profile picture, and you want to call me a fake veteran. Can't even show your face. You're a real pussy. Oh, someone's talking trash about me that don't have a picture up. Oh man, we need. I'm so glad the words retarded and pussy are coming back in the right kind of context, because we have so many of them, retards and pussies, sitting there saying I'm a fake veteran, but don't even have a profile picture, and the whole time I've been my face the whole time. I mean, what am I hiding from? I mean, I'm actually real. I mean, I don't have any. Ladies, be careful. I ain't got no OnlyFans, but look how wide I am. There's no mask here. No mask. No mask. Real me. Watch out, ladies. Don't be screenshotting that too much now. You have all them haters out there, them influencers. They'll be talking trash about old Derek, showing his chest to the ladies and all his older cougars who are coming after him. Oh, these old people support him. They're the only ones who support him. I'm like, the older people are the only ones who care right now. I mean, no one else cares in our nation what's going on except for people who are older, right? I mean, that's what's atrocious even more so. So, look, real person. All right, let's get back on track. I'll get back on track. So, January the 6th. So, although no foreign power has altered the outcome, or, little two-letter word, or, vote tabulation. Uh-oh. Well, when was this executive order signed again? September the 12th, 2018. And President Trump already has literature in there that says although no foreign power has altered the outcome or vote tabulation, guess what vote tabulation is? January the 6th. So see why I get so mad? That when I get on my personal, private Facebook, people who befriended me are looking atrocious all over the just misleading people. Why are you even friends with me, first off? Why did you even try to befriend me? Just to say, oh, I'm friends with Derek Jonhson? Like, I didn't know you before. And why did you try to get me on your show if you're not showing people what's in current laws and orders and vote? Why are you misleading people in the comment boxes? President Trump signed this executive order 2 years and 2 months before the 2020 election, 2 months before any election under his presidency, and the literature already cancels out what took place on January the 6th, 2021. It already cancels out everything, meaning this is a strategic operation you're watching, although no foreign power has altered the outcome or vote tabulation in any United States election. It didn't say in 1, it didn't say in 2, it didn't say in 3, it didn't say in 4, it said in any United States election. And then he tells you our gravest threats are not abroad, they're within. We have it all, we've caught them all. It was you, Joe, who recommended the Logan Act on General Flynn. All these bureaucrats, they're the enemy. Everything's under control. Where you need to apply yourself, though, is the laws and the orders. And how do we prevent this from ever happening again at local level, state level, federal level? That's where you got to get involved. You don't go sit back in your lazy boy like some of these people did and go, oh, whew, President Trump's back in office now. Everything's going to be gravy. We're all good. No! Our founder, our father of the Constitution showed you. He wrote the Constitution, and then he was explaining in the Federalist Papers why it's going to be great, and then he had to go into the Supreme Court 16 years after he wrote the Constitution and explained to a justice of which the system he established with his brain works, functions, and operates, had to explain to a justice what a law looks like. You will always have to fight for America. We just have to quell all this and get all this corruption out and then get back to an even keel where we only have 1 or 2 discrepancies along the way. And then we have to do what? Make sure they get punished. Not let it build up again and fester to all these incompetent idiots running around like the chickens with their heads cut off, like President Trump says. Well, they fired this guy and put him out of this department into this department. No! Pack his ass up and send him home. He can't do the job. He don't need to be here. That's what you have to identify. So all the people out there yelling, we want justice. Nothing can change until we see justice. Nothing can change until they fix the 2020 election. No, you're missing the operation. You don't have to say that. You don't have to even use that language out of your mouth. The whole thing's an operation. Learn the whole thing. January the 20th, 2021. So January the 6th, you saw National Guard start moving into D.C. January the 11th, you saw National Guard moving into D.C. January the 13th, President Trump had a very monumental speech. He said, your great, 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 great grandchildren will live to talk about this day. I ain't even had a child yet. My great, 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 great. It was like 7 greats. My 7 great grandchildren are going to live to talk about this day? Oh, an old-ass white man being inaugurated? Come on, ladies. This is where the ladies get to chime in. This is where all my cougars get to chime in. All right, where you at, ladies? What would be so monumental that 7 generations out are going to be talking about another old-ass white man being quote-unquote inaugurated? Old Joe Biden? There's nothing monumental about that. If Joe Biden was being inaugurated on January the 20th, 2021, that's not monumental. President Trump's telling you on January the 13th and January 11th he had these speeches. The other one was at the Alamo, but not the Alamo, the monument in San Antonio. He was at Alamo, Texas. It had a double correlation because the wall was standing behind it. That was a visual. That's an optic. The wall, a line in the sand. The Alamo. Sorry, all of my native Texans. I lived in Texas a long, long time, but I'm not a native. I was born in Alabama, and I'm not ashamed of where I was born. But right down the road where I grew up in one of my hometowns, guess whose hometown it is? William Barrett Travis, the hero of the Alamo, the one who drew the line in the sand and wrote the letter victory or death. He's the one who yelled out, "No rendirse, muchachos," which means give them hell, boys. Give them hell! Old 26-year-old Alabama boy, he knew enough Spanish to yell it out where the Spanish could hear him, giving them hell. He's the one that told his men, we're trapped here. We're not getting out of here alive. You're going to die right here. If you want to flee, you can flee, but history's going to count you as a traitor if you flee. Back then, those men did not believe in raising a white flag until it was put into what? Military law and or handed down by an official. All right. They sent the Pony Express to D.C. where he requested more ammo and different supplies. It didn't get there to them. All right. They were surrounded by Mexicans. All right. The Pony Express didn't get to them in time to tell them they didn't have to fight that fight. They didn't get there in time. All those men died at the Alamo that day by not being pussies like the people that you saw in the comment box earlier with no face on their little picture. All right, they died heroes because they didn't even have to fight that fight. They didn't throw up the white flag. They didn't surrender. They didn't retreat. They stood there and they fought like heroes and men, and they all became legends at the Alamo. That's what President Trump was showing you that day. To be a patriot, to be a warrior, to be those two things, you have to act like that. When times get tough, when the tough get going, that's when you have to get going. You don't jump ship because, we didn't release the Epstein files because it didn't happen on your watch and your time. You wouldn't even know what to do with them because you don't even know what they all, how they all coincide with everything else. Most of you, all right, not you real patriots, right? And you don't jump ship because, Iran. Where were you when we were bombing the hell out of Yemen just a couple of weeks ago? March the 15th to May the 6th. You can go to Google right now. March 15th to May the 6th is declared on Yemen. We were. But whose executive order was that? Executive order 13611 by whom? Obama. Iran. Executive order 12170. Jimmy Carter. The oldest national emergency. The oldest and the longest in our U.S. history was Jimmy Carter. And it's still active even though President Trump is showing you the visuals of ending all this. And at some point, that'll be a declaration. He's already ended Syria. He's the first president to end national emergencies from the swamp. All of their bullcrap bureaucracy and diplomacy, all that stuff. January 20th, 2021, quote unquote Joe. So if you were a Democrat, which I know that's painful to even think about, but there's some Republicans who look like it, so some of them can think like that because they look like it. But if you were a Democrat, wouldn't you and shouldn't you be pissed that your boy, who's the monumental 81 million votes, remember they told you to get over that? Remember how they told you to get over that? Joe won, get over it. Remember that? 81 million votes, the most in U.S. history, get over it. The same people who told you to get over it are now on X, all over Twitter. Guess what they're saying? 2024 was rigged. So they clearly show that President Trump is not a part of the anything. They clearly, the liberals show that daily, that President Trump is not one of them. So with Republicans, conservatives saying that President Trump's one of them, when the liberals hate his gut and want him assassinated, they are calling for his assassination every day on social media. They are all open saying they want President Trump out of here. They're open to that. That's how atrocious. So President Trump can't be a part of that when the liberals are that way. So when you Republicans say that, you look atrocious. But shouldn't you, I mean, if you were a Democrat, wouldn't you be pissed that the boy who got, oh, your boy, I got 81 million votes, and he sat in his whitey-tighties in his basement and he never moved, got 81 million votes? All right. Shouldn't they be pissed that that dude didn't get the traditional flight into D.C. on Air Force One? Air Force One, not Trump Force One, Air Force One. So the Air Force and the military, Department of Defense, didn't recognize, quote-unquote, Joe. Every other president got an Air Force ride in, except for Joe. Shouldn't you be pissed that they played Amazing Grace, which is a funeral song? He didn't get some kind of, happy song for the quote-unquote inauguration. Wasn't that supposed to be a monumental day? It's supposed to be a happy day for everybody. We got to hear Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. We got to hear a funeral song for a happy day, a monumental day. Shouldn't you be pissed that he didn't get anything by Army regulations or military standards? Shouldn't you be pissed? And then why are Republicans, conservatives mad at an Army veteran for showing you that Army Regulation 600-25 2-3 cannon salutes shows that a commissioned officer is to be present at every cannon salute? Where's the commissioned officer for quote-unquote Joe's cannons? Where are they? Why are they all fat? Why are they all can't make tape? Why are they all not in regulation uniforms? Why are they all moving around like this? Why are they all breaking military bearing? Why? Why are people mad that a veteran can call out, hey, none of this is regulation whatsoever? Why were people mad? Why are people still mad? All right, why did the National Guard turn their backs on the motorcade? Not a single National Guard. And then this year, when they showed President Trump roll down, you saw all the National Guard doing what? You can go back to all the others. Why? Why does every single National Guard member have their back turned to the quote-unquote motorcade? We always salute a moving flag for sure. And we always salute a commander-in-chief, but especially a moving flag. Because that flag drapes over these coffins. Those coffins that you're all shitting on when you shit on me. If you shit on me, you're shitting on all them. If you shit on me, you're shitting on President Trump. Because everything I talk about are laws and orders by military laws, military orders, how they pay federal. So why did the National Guard do that? Why did Joe Biden raise his right hand at 11:47 a.m. Eastern Standard Time? Why did every other president in U.S. history go by the 20th Amendment, which says that a president's term shall end at noon, the successor shall then begin? Why did every other president swear in at 12:01 to 12:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, except for quote-unquote Joe, which would be a violation of the 20th Amendment? And then, why is it so freaking hard to comprehend that the first time in U.S. history they showed two different sets of cannons on January the 20th, 2021? First time in U.S. history. First time they've ever shown the cannons at Arlington. So we'll use another troll since we're trolling on the trolls here. You can't out-troll a troll, by the way. But I troll with facts. But a troll a year or two back, Army veteran now, supposed to be, right, quote-unquote, on Truth Social says, I finally got Derek Jonhson. I caught him in a lie. Well, first off, ladies, you know this better than anybody, especially all you married ladies. Your husband can be 100% wrong, but not be a liar. All right, so that term liar, straight out the gate, when people hear the term liar, when you hear that, you better have good, hard facts that someone's lying. Hard facts. All right, you can be 100% wrong, but not be a liar. All right, so this person says that the cannons at Arlington are always there. Thank you. Thank you, troll. You're correct. They are always there. But for the first time in United States history on Inauguration Day, they showed the cannons at Arlington. No other time in U.S. history on Inauguration Day, January the 20th, have they ever shown the cannons at Arlington. So thank you, you dumbass out there, and everybody else who thinks like that. Thank you for that observation because you're 100% correct, and you still prove my point. 3 cannons at Arlington on Arlington National Cemetery.mil. The 3-volley salute, rifle or cannons, seen or heard at Arlington is not a 21-gun salute. It's a military funeral. The 4 cannons, 21 rounds, is a 21-gun salute by definition of Army standards. 21 rounds fire is a 21-gun salute out of 4 cannons. If you go back from 2017 and 1969, you'll see 4 cannons at every inauguration. And if you look on January the 20th, 2025, you'll see 4 cannons, 21 rounds fire. The only time in U.S. history they've shown 2 different sets of cannons was on January the 20th, 2021. 3 cannons with quote-unquote Biden, which is not a 21-gun salute. I don't care what Tampa, there's one out there, not your C-SPAN and all those, but Tampa puts on their 21-gun salute. It's not a 21-gun salute. It's not whatsoever. That, again, is crapping on all of us veterans, Army veterans, but especially the 3rd Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard, the official Presidential Salute Battery, which is the oldest unit in the Army, 1784. They didn't get that wrong that day. Out of all the other inaugurations, they didn't get that wrong. That was all to show you, the people, that what you're about to witness from January 20th, 2021 to January the 20th, 2025 is a strategic military operation. A continuity government. All the laws and orders show that. Also, during 2021 to 2025, not a single tariff was removed. Congress gave the president authority over the tariffs. You can go look at the tariffs, the acts of 1962 and 1974. You can look up and read about tariffs. They're presidential authority. Not a single tariff that was put into place in 2018 was removed from 2021 to 2025. If quote-unquote Joe was president, he'd have had the same power and authority as every other president. How come no tariff was removed from 2021 to 2025? How come not one single judge tried to block a tariff from 2021 to 2025? Not one single judge has tried to block a tariff from 2021 to 2025. Not one single judge tried to block anything from quote-unquote Joe during that time period. That was an Obama appointed, Clinton appointed, or Bush appointed. New York, 2022, 2023, talked about it earlier. National Guard hits the subways. Federal duty. And also they're at prisons up there because of lack of employees and different people. Federal duty. You can look at Executive Order number 28 by Governor Hochul. It says federal support. Federal support by military is Title 10. It's not Title 32. Title 10, presidential authority, federal support. The National Guard were activated in New York in 2022 and 2023. 2,800. The Adjutant General reported that. Just this past March, March 11, 2025, Senate, the New York Senate writes to President Trump to federalize National Guard. There's 8,200 National Guard now active in New York. There's no new Title 10 order for the New York National Guard, because they're reserve components. California, 2025, was Title 10 12406. That's a new order by President Trump, completely separate from Title 10 12302 from March 27, 2020. That's reserve components. When President Trump activated the National Guard in California, that was a Title 10 12406 National Guard call-up. 12302 from March 27, 2020 was reserve components. National Guard serve a dual mission, state and federal. Reserves are federal only. That's why all those people, the ones that tried to steal my trademark way back, that douchebag, active duty, and he had another one out there claiming he was a veteran too, that's why they look stupid. Sitting there saying, if Derek Jonhson would have served more than the time he did, he would know this. You didn't even have to serve to know this. You don't even have to be a veteran to know this. You just have to have a brain and be able to comprehend the difference in them. Gaslighting don't work. Gaslighting don't work in this day and age. It ain't working. All right. Stupidity ain't working. Low IQ ain't working. All right. So your hatred is showing. Right. It did show. Those people ain't nowhere to be found now because they're ignorant, stupid, low IQ, and they've all been proven wrong. Texas 2024, President Donald John Trump standing at the border. The only person with a presidential title to their name, even with the normies who thought, quote-unquote, Joe was real. Joe never went to Eagle Pass, Texas, or the border that's known for what was taking place. Every media article you read about talked about Del Rio, Texas, and Eagle Pass, Texas. Not Brownsville, Texas. Every single mainstream article. How did 2,000 dirt poor Haitians get from Haiti to Del Rio, Texas? Do you know where Del Rio, Texas is, ladies and gentlemen? Did you even look up the map to see where Del Rio, Texas is? Haiti, if you're in Haiti, you'd have better chances of getting to Florida, anywhere in Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, or like Corpus Christi, Galveston, Houston, Beaumont, all those areas. Like Del Rio, Texas, 2,000 dirt poor Haitians ended up, like if you're looking at Texas and you got the handle right down here, Del Rio's like right up here. This would be like Houston right here. You have like Corpus Christi, Galveston and all that. Del Rio's like right over here. El Paso's like right here. That's how stupid people are. You have to use the term stupid. Because if they're going to show stupidity, you got to call it out. How did 2,000 dirt poor Haitians get across the Gulf of Mexico, the old Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf of America? We're going to call it the Gulf of Mexico for the idiots out there who just can't understand that because they don't identify with the Gulf of America. So how did 2,000 dirt poor Haitians get across the old Gulf of Mexico all the way over near El Paso? Haiti, Haitians. And so President Trump, one executive order wasn't his, but all the others were. Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Haiti. All of these nations, the closest one to Del Rio, Texas, the closest. If you just do not road miles, but if you do like a regular measurement from just country to Del Rio, 1,536 miles. How is it that we have people who can't comprehend illegal is illegal? I've never seen as many people support illegal anything as you've seen with the liberals out there. Illegal is illegal. Unlawful is unlawful. Due process don't apply to you, first off, if you can't come here lawfully. Due process is for all of us Americans who are doing what we're supposed to be doing, and if someone accuses you of the wrong thing, or like a dumbass tries to steal your federal trademark, then everybody has due process, and you have to prove, okay, here's my trademark, here's when it was established, and here's my sales, and here's this, and here's that. And then that dumbass don't have anything to show for themselves. Well, they still get due process to show it, but when they can't, what? Present anything, then it goes, okay, my evidence stacks up against theirs. That's what you call due process. no matter how much you dislike someone, hate someone, whatever, but they're not Americans. They don't get due process. That's for us. That's what we benefit from. And we have illegals coming in this nation, right? We did. Not anymore. But we did. And we have liberals taking up for that. Do you see a liberal inviting an illegal migrant to their house to live with them? No. Do you see liberals inviting all the homeless out there to live with them? No. Giving a homeless person $5 ain't going to get them nowhere. They might get them a meal, but most of them are buying cigarettes and alcohol. So I don't want to hear some bullcrap sob story about, helping people. That requires a team of people. And it requires people who think on the same page. And that's what's going to happen. President Trump did say we're going to rescue the homeless off the streets. You know who's going to be doing that? Veterans. Not you. That's when there's going to probably be an involuntary callback for that. President Trump has said that over and over, that we will have a rescuing of the homeless. So then you go to asylum. This is straight up laws, and every country has this. So if you're in Costa Rica and you come to Agua and come to Del Rio, Texas, and say, "Oh, well, I deserve asylum here. No, you don't. You just bypass all these nations that you were supposed to seek asylum in there. So if you feel like someone's a threat to you in your nation, or whatever it may be, you got to seek asylum in the country next to you." So Texas, President Trump was the only person with a presidential title to stand at Del Rio, Texas. He had the governor of Texas and the adjutant general standing there beside him. And God bless the governor of Texas. He can't stand. He's in a wheelchair. But he has them right there, visuals. That's a chain of command structure. He just showed everybody. So again, if you say that military laws, military orders, military regulations are conspiracy theories, you're already an enemy to this nation. When Abraham Lincoln added foreign and domestic to, it's called the Ironclad Test Oath in 1862, when that was added to the oath of enlistment and the oath of office, it was for people who look like that. Anybody who looked foreign to our ideologies, the Declaration of Independence, the Revolutionary War, the Federalist Papers, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, anybody who looked foreign to that ideology, you're the enemy. It had nothing to do, veterans, listen up, vets, all of you selfish military industrial complex, when you talk down to other veterans because they didn't do what you did and all that other bullcrap. Oh, they didn't do as many tours as you did and all that other bullshit. Foreign and domestic, when it was added in 1862, had nothing to do with that kind of foreign. Every single war we've been in has been man-made, prefabricated. Deep state, bureaucracy, their quote-unquote diplomacy. We were not supposed to look like this. Our service was supposed to be to our nation, and anybody who was foreign to our nation. So if you're that person who came after me, only a few of you veterans did, it wasn't many of you, but if you're still out there and you're still boiling over, guess what? I'm more of a veteran than you are. If you want to go tit for tat, then we can do that. I'm more of a veteran than you are because I'm defending what really matters. Our turf, our ideologies, our way of life, our people, trying to lead our people. You were a slave and brain controlled by the bureaucrats, and you still remain brain controlled by the bureaucrats, and you haven't sought to see that all these wars from Korea to Afghanistan were all man-made. Bureaucrats did it. They were not threats to us. The real threat was over there building up nuclear weapons when, the whole world, but especially Americans, thought that Executive Order 12170 with Jimmy Carter with the national emergency on Iran was quelling Iran. And the whole time, the real threat was building up nuclear facilities. That was the real weapons of mass destruction. Not in Iraq. There ain't been no weapons of mass destruction not one time in Iraq or Afghanistan. The Adjutant General of Texas gives the whole thing away with President Trump. President Trump told you twice that day. In February 2024, he told you twice it's a military operation. The border, ladies and gentlemen, is not a state thing. It's a federal thing. And right now, they just expanded the operational zone of where you can't step into. If you do, you're going to be put in jail instantly. All right, and it's a long sentence. So if you want to be a liberal and look atrocious, you go on down there, liberals. Step in that territory. Please do. Go on down there and say it's bullcrap. Say all this is bullcrap and hogwash. Go on down there and step in that territory. See what happens to you. It's not a state issue. It's a federal. President Trump standing there with the governor of Texas and the Adjutant General, and he says it's a military operation twice. 14 states deployed to Texas during that time period. 14 states. In order for a state to leave their jurisdiction, that's federalization. Title 10, presidential. The only Title 10 order up to that date in place was Title 10, Section 12302 from March 27, 2020, Executive Order 13912. And wasn't, quote-unquote, Joe supposed to be the president? Where's Joe's Title 10 orders for Texas? Where are they? They're not there. So if you're someone with laws and orders in your mouth, then you probably need to know the laws and orders. If you're someone that wants to use the Constitution, which is stupid to do because it's just a general governance, it's not the laws and the orders invoked, you probably need to know that. There's no Title 10 in order for those 14 states under quote-unquote Joe. The only Title 10 order in place is Executive Order 13912, Title 10, Section 12302. Same Title 10 with New York as well. The Adjutant General gives it all away. The Adjutant General reports to the governor unless the National Guard are federalized by Title 10. And the only Title 10 order in place was from Executive Order 13912. It's all there. Now, they use the term National Guard there, but National Guard can still apply with the reserve components. I mean, it's all there. You don't salute a former commander. You don't at ease a former commander. When President Trump walked in there, at ease! You don't salute a former commander, and you don't at ease a former commander. All through the time period, you saw President Trump saluting at races. You saw him saluting. You saw foreign leaders saluting him. You don't salute a former commander. You don't salute or at ease a former commander. Especially a former commander that the liberals call a draft dodger. So if a president was not a veteran before, so Eisenhower could be saluted in one kind of way, even though we don't do that, but he could salute a flag. All of us retired veterans, we can salute a flag. We can wear our uniform in certain places, as prescribed still in regulations for retirees. All right. We can salute a flag. If we're at a football game, even if we're not in a uniform, which we shouldn't be in a uniform, period, but even if we weren't in a uniform, like our class blues or whatever it is that your retiree uniform that you can't wear fatigues ever again, but our retiree uniforms, we can salute a flag even out of uniform. As a retired veteran, we can do that. And even veterans, for that matter, can salute a flag by military regulations. So, a president who was never a veteran before, just because they become president, don't exempt them and they can salute. They go back to civilian status. They just become a former president in civilian status. 2025 to present day. I've already broke down New York, March 11th, the New York State Senate requesting federalization. There's no Title 10 order there except for March 27th, 2020. All right. California. You hear people out there, you heard Candace Owens, you heard all these idiots start showing their true rhino colors. They're not patriots. They don't care about you. They only are a name and a face. They blew up on social media. They don't care about you. They don't have an oath to keep. I do. All right. So when they show their colors, they're going to get called out on their colors. All right. Another one out there, Laura Logan. Laura Logan shared someone like 2 years ago. And this person was a hater. And they were part of the hate crew that was trying to steal my trademark and all that stuff. They were same replication. Laura Logan shares this post by this low-level twerp who had like maybe 30 followers on X. Bravo, Laura Logan. 500,000 or whatever, how many hundred thousands of followers you have sharing some little twerp because you have no brain, you have no IQ, and you have no military knowledge whatsoever. This person said, basically in their post, that the whole foundation of the U.S. prevents the military from operating in civilian status for like a military takeover. That's the biggest hogwash I've ever heard in my life. All right. First off, the military didn't do a military takeover like that. All the laws and orders, again, you don't have to like them. You don't have to love them. You don't have to like me. You don't have to love me. You can hate me, loathe me, and want to kill me. But the laws and orders outline exactly what they outline. Joint Publication 3-57. Civil-military operations. And just like this dash, that dash also matters. Civil-military operations. Joint publication from the military, 3-57. Not anything federal. Page 46. It says specifically that generally, no. Title 10, United States Forces, Department of Defense Forces do not operate with civil unless. So see, that's where people don't read and they can expose themselves easily because they don't read. Generally means not always. Unless means, unless what? There's going to be a command back here that says what can make United States forces, regular forces, operate in civilian, meaning our streets, our roads, our cities, our towns, our neighborhoods. Unless what? It says unless the Constitution or Congress deems so. Well, Laura Logan, Laura, you got your head so far up your butt, you can give yourself a colonoscopy, right? You can give yourself a tonsillectomy, your head so far up your rear end, especially sharing someone who was a twerp, who was linked in with all these hate groups trying to steal my federal trademark, trying to frame me for a bunch of stuff. Oh, I don't have a First Amendment? If I was 100% wrong, I don't have a First Amendment either? Is that how this is? I mean, my First Amendment reflects more of the foundation than anybody out there. So Laura Logan shares this twerp, all right? And over here in joint publication, page 46, says the Congress or Constitution. Ooh. Well, I'm pretty sure Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2, the suspension clause, the writ of habeas corpus suspension legislation, that would be Congress. I'm pretty sure that Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550, that's still in place to this day, that's all over all of our government documents and military documents, that's your Congress as well. It was a Democratic House who introduced the war order that a Republican Senate passed on December the 20th, 2019. There's your unless clause right there, Laura freaking Logan. All right? You probably need to read the laws and orders of which you think that you know because you don't know. And you probably, because you're a civilian, you probably need to shut up. All right? You probably need to let the veterans and the military handle the military. That's why influencers look dumb right now. Most influencers look dumb. Most mainstream influencers look dumb. Facebook, where the laggards are. They're baiting laggards because laggards are just like, oh, what's going on? You don't do that to vulnerable people. That's why I care about the people. So it may sound like I'm braggadocious, it may sound like I'm harsh, it may sound like I'm uncouth, it may sound all these things, but I care about you. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here on my time, my dime. There's a lot of other things I could be doing right now. A lot of other things. But I'm keeping my oath to the T of the oath. God took me out of the military, and one day I'm going to get to tell that full story because it's in classified documents. All these people who trashed me and hated me. Ooh. All right, and I'm not the only one with a story. There's plenty of veterans out there with a story. But I'm going to get to tell that one day. But now ain't the day. Now it's not about me. It's not about me at all. I'm keeping an oath to the T. To the T and the standard of what the oath's supposed to look like. The oath says, I will support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That foreign and domestic again, 1862. The ironclad test oath had nothing to do with foreign. Iraq, Afghanistan, Bosnia, Somalia, Kosovo, Lebanon, Libya, none of it. Had nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with that. Those were all bureaucrats who started that. Those were all bureaucrats who had all their stuff go wrong. That's all bureaucrats. That's what happened. All their bureaucracy and their quote-unquote diplomacy when it went wrong, when guerrilla warfare, when all these other like low-level, not established militaries in these nations did what? Exposed their dirty crap. And then they put our troops in there all through these years. So, joint publication 3-57. That's what California is. And you heard Candace Owens and all these people. Never been in the military. Not under an oath. Don't know what that even means. Don't have that passion in that heart right here. Don't take an unlawful order. What gives you the right to talk to our troops? What gives you the right to even think that they would listen to you? First off, they're not. But to think that they would even listen to you. What gives you that authority and that right? President Trump had someone on his prayer team. President Trump, just recently, had someone on his prayer team put up a post. Not our war. You're on a prayer team. All of a sudden, they're put on this prayer team, and all of a sudden they think they're the voice and the spokesperson for President Trump. October and November speeches. All throughout 2021, 2022, 2023, President Trump said this. But, just for the most recent, you can go back and watch those big, like the one in New York, Madison Square Garden, all those big speeches President Trump had in October and November, just this past year. He said, we're an occupied country. We will soon no longer be an occupied country. The Great Restoration starts on January the 20th. Liberation Day starts on November the 5th. He didn't say for the patriots out there, did he? He didn't say where it's going to be over on January the 20th. He said it starts. This segment, so from 2025 to present day, which will be 2025 to 2029 when it fully ends, per se, is like the visual of it. But right now, guess what you're witnessing? So go back, remember, 2017 to 2021 legislative branch, everything, all these unique laws and orders put into place that set up continuity government, presidential emergency action documents, come down to 2021 to 2025. Remember the federal continuity directive, all the federal stuff on January the 1st, and the invocation of continuity government, December the 7th, 2020, rolling into 2021, and January the 6th, January the 20th, all those things. The reconstitution of the executive branch, so the executive branch being reestablished. Now what are you witnessing? The judicial branch. It's judge this, judge that, judge this, judge that, judge said this, judge that, judge blocked this, judge blocked that, judge, 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 judge this, judge that, judge this, judge today blocked something that the Supreme Court's already ruled on, found a loophole, says he found a loophole, he blocked it, judge this, judge that, judge this, appeals court this, Ninth Circuit this, Sixth Court here that, Fourth Circuit here, appeals court, district court here, Supreme Court here. It's judge, 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 court, 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 court. Judge, 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 judge. Not one single judge tried to block anything from quote-unquote Joe with tariffs in 2021 to 2025. Joe didn't even try to remove a tariff from 2021 to 2025. But the judges all of a sudden and all the liberals, the tariffs are destroying our economy. The tariffs are going to destroy everything. The tariffs are going to add all this money to your paycheck. The tariffs are going to do this and that and others. You're going to have to pay for this and pay for that. But not one single judge tried to block the tariffs in 2021 and 2025. And quote-unquote Joe, presidential authority didn't terminate the tariffs. The judges. And why did President Trump sign an executive order on January the 18th, 2021, which would be 2 days before, quote-unquote, Joe, for the average people thought, quote-unquote, Joe? Why did President Trump sign an executive order, protection of law enforcement, judges, prosecutors? Perhaps because the good judges and the good prosecutors and good law enforcement were going to be standing up and stepping up. See why it pays to know laws and orders? We had an idiot today, again, on the page. Why do we have to know laws and orders? Why are you on my page? I mean, I'll probably end up with 5 followers. But I'm okay with that, because I'm not here for followers. I know exactly what's going on, every intricate detail. Everything. It's all there. And just like Lieutenant Colonel Bosey said the other day, Special Operations, retired Lieutenant Colonel, Australia, badass. He said, ladies and gentlemen, you do realize Special Forces and Special Operations are 2 and 3 years ahead of you, right? Why is it that this bad boy was in print December 2023? But it stems from my documents that are called the documents.info. Why is that I published those January 2021 for the public at that time who knew me? And this right here, printed December 2023. Why does this show everything that's taking place right now? You know what this is called? A shit-eating grin. So when you hate me, when you loathe me, when you trash me, when you shit on me, when you talk about me and don't know me, when you talk about it being hogwash, bullshit, and all this other stuff, you are the only one hurting yourself. It's already there. The people here made these #1 bestsellers because President Trump has already validated these in a different kind of way. He wouldn't let me anywhere near a private establishment. Mar-a-Lago is a little bit more, it's not public, but it's a lot more where you can be a member. Trump International is a private golf course. It's not even a resort. So you probably want to know that. You probably need to know that. And it's not me bragging, because everybody who follows me, who loves me for the right reasons, and not about me, but I let them live through me. I show all this stuff for them because I wish everybody could go to Trump International. I wish everybody could go meet President Trump. I wish everybody could go to Trump Doral or Trump International or Trump wherever you are. I wish everybody could experience Mar-a-Lago. That place is awesome. His speeches, occupied. Occupied territory is the actual term in the Law of War Manual. He said, Angela Merkel. Remember Angela? No one remembers her right now. I gave her the white flag of surrender. He was on with Piers Morgan on an interview. And he laughed. He said, I gave it to her on a napkin. A white napkin. The white flag of surrender. February 18, 2025, a reporter in a press conference asked President Trump about, in one question now, asked about capitulation and a puppet government in Russia. You know the only person out of all the flapping gums out there, the only person and podcaster who talks about puppet governments? Rest in peace to my grandfather, Army veteran, lied about his age of getting in the military. He wasn't going down as a draftee. Guess when the puppet government took place? 1943 to 1945, the most popular one. Guess when my grandpa was in service? What would a little tiny reporter, just a little female, know about capitulations and puppet government? You know she was put up to ask that question. Come on, people. And what are the odds that all 4 of these, occupied territory, white flag of surrender, capitulations, and puppet government, are all in the Law of War Manual? They're not government terms whatsoever. Nothing to do with federal government. Nothing. They're all military. What are the odds that a puppet government coincides with the government in exile? which is found in our 2016 Special Operations Command, which was one of those from April 2016. What are the odds of that? What are the odds that capitulation and white flag and surrender are in the same chapter? And what are the odds that government, so the puppet government, and occupied country, occupied territory, what are the odds that they're in the same chapter? You know what chapter that is? Remember the idiot that got blocked earlier? Says it's not a continuity of government. Well, when you have a continuity of government, you have a presidential emergency action document, which means there's a military occupation going on. Guess what chapter they're in? Of the Law of War Manual, which is military, not federal. Military occupation. I'm not the guy you want to pick a fight with when it comes to knowledge and IQ, but especially what's going on right now. I'm not that dude. You might as well leave the comment box and go somewhere else, because I will screenshot you and I will blast you. Influencer especially. There's no reason for people to look confused right now. If you're an influencer out there, there's no reason for your people to look confused whatsoever. And especially if you're a civilian, stand the you-know-what down. Lead, follow, or get the hell out the way. And by leading, that means you better lead them with everything that's in my intellectual property. I'm the only one that has it. Sorry. That sounds braggadocious, that sounds whatever. Tough crap. You didn't know it, you never knew it, so tough crap. You might as well be showing your people, the veterans who know what's going on, and the people who I'm on podcast with. Everything was done strategically. 2022, I went on every podcast known to man to get to the people. And all of my patriots, you've seen me not go back on certain shows because they're what? They're puppets. They're being paid to talk. A lot of them. A lot of them are frauds and fakes, and they all have stuff on their records. We've already done all the research. I've already done all the background. I also have certain credentials out there. And when I get to tell that, that's going to be really fun too. All right? And me and my sponsor have been talking about this. Not sponsors like, Nike and Reebok or whoever. No, a real sponsor. All right? When we get to tell who it is, look. Somebody's got to be in the know. Somebody's got to lead you through all this bullcrap. The bullcrap right now is not all this noise. The bullcrap is really the quote-unquote influencers who are creating noise. All because they have no clue what's going on lawfully. So when you have a full proof of a COG, you have full proof of presidential emergency action documents, which means military occupation, military operation, and all the other terms to do with it. It's all out now. So now I'm going to get to this before we get to the full closure. Epstein. First off, what would you people benefit from by having a list? What would you average people do by benefiting? See, what's happened, and I've talked about this on other podcasts and also with friends, what's happened is a lot of people are selfish. And they were President Trump supporters on the surface, and they went out on a limb and they supported him verbally, either on their social media or their friends, and all of a sudden, their friends are probably either Democrat, liberal, independent, middle of the road, whatever, but also haven't read laws, orders, or anything like that, don't have a clue that there's a thing called a military occupation or a continuity government, don't have any clue of that, how it works, how it's invoked, etc., how it operates, functions, right? So then all of a sudden, this list isn't there for the people to be able to say, President Trump's not on there, I told you he wasn't on there. That's all this is about. That's all these rhinos and never-Trumpers and Republicans, conservatives, that's all this is about. It's because they can't be able to say on their two little friends who are commenting every day on their little stupid posts that don't even matter, all right, because they don't even know the bigger picture. That's all this is about. It's because they can't be able to say, I told you he wasn't on there. And if they did publish a list out there and President Trump's name's not on there, guess what the liberals are going to do? The liberals are going to say what? They're going to say, you people erased it. They erased this. That. So then you have what? You have people who are never what? Satisfied by what? Human things. Not laws and orders. That's all this is about. Every Republican, but especially influencer, who jumped ship It's because they don't even know the laws and orders that build a bigger picture. Because I can assure you right now, Epstein is a tip of the iceberg. Did you see that, quote-unquote, Obama is all of a sudden resurfaced? He's talking trash about President Trump's big, beautiful bill. All right? All of a sudden, Obama's coming back on the scene, being more visual, more vocal about President Trump. Where was he? Where's Obama been? Where's Hillary? Where's Bill? Where's Pelosi? Where's Chelsea? Where's George? Where are all these people at? If they're free to roam, listen again, this is what you got to listen to. If they're free to roam, meaning they got full-fledged freedom of going across this country, where are they? Where have they been? Why aren't they out rallying their delinquents who are out in the streets waving a Mexican flag in California saying, oh, you Republicans, you conservatives, you patriots, how dare you? Waving a Mexican flag in America? And you don't want to go back, though, to your country because you're unlawful? Make that make sense. That on the surface alone, without laws and orders, make that make sense. So you're waving a Mexican flag in America, but you're mad because we want to send unlawful people back to Mexico. I think I've just lost IQ saying that. I'm going to have to I'm going to have to get like a dang USB and just go load me back up to 160. So where are they? Why aren't they out with their delinquents on the streets? Why aren't they out there? What, they got all their people out there right now. They could be rallying, oh, he's a threat to democracy and we need to save this nation and he's violating the Constitution and we know how to rally. Come on, people, let's lead it down the street and blah, blah, blah. Let's look like Forrest Gump running out in the desert. You know, where are they? Why aren't these quote-unquote leaders out there with their delinquents saying, yeah, that's right, he is a threat and he is a violating? Where are they? Why aren't the liberals pissed? Why aren't the liberal Democrats pissed that their quote-unquote leaders are nowhere to be found? Why do we have Republican, conservative, but especially people calling themselves patriots when President Trump puts on Truth Social, all roads lead to Obama? Reshare if you would like to see public military tribunals. Oh, you didn't share that? He's talking about public military tribunals, which are military courts, not federal. That would be the justice. Why do we have patriots who didn't even get on Truth Social when President Trump told them to? Why do we have people who said when President Trump put up a post about Joe Biden executed 2020? Why do we have people calling themselves patriots, Republicans, conservatives? Oh, he didn't mean to post that. There's a difference in a post and a repost. Do you realize? A repost and a post. It's visual for the public. It don't matter if it's a post or a repost. The man who used internet, the man who used Twitter to get to people, the man who campaigned with social media, don't realize that he put a post up that says Joe Biden was executed in 2020? Load my IQ back up. Then the others say, oh, he's just trolling. He's a troll. He's a master troll. He's just trolling. What part of January the 20th, 2021 will you not listen to an Army veteran? It's the Army who fires the cannons that day. Why don't you listen to Army regulations? Joe Biden was shown to have a funeral service. So if he was executed in 2020, and President Trump's truth in that, pretty sure that'd be a good visual for the January 20th, 2021. There's only, obviously, 20 days up to that point in January, so you're only 20 days into 2021. You remember the chess game we're talking about and trapping the deep state? Remember that? Did you not watch President Trump roast all those Republicans in 2016 campaign trail? Go back and watch that. He called Ted Cruz Robin Hood. He said the biggest liar on this stage is right here, Ted Cruz. He hammered Marco Rubio, told him he couldn't handle it, like these pussies out there. He said, you can't handle it. All right. Cruz said, oh, I'm leading Hillary in the polls. on the debates, you're only leading in the bigger polls, and President Trump said, I'm pretty sure if I'm leading in the bigger polls and you're not, you have no chance on her. He roasted Jeb Bush. He hammered Jeb. He hammered George. He hammered George Sr. He hammered the whole Bush family. President Trump. Did you not see Jeb Bush on Twitter, X? Did you not see Jeb? Where's Jeb been this whole time? No one's heard from Jeb this whole time since 2016 to Iran. And Jeb Bush is putting up on his X, his old school Twitter, X, complimenting President Trump's handling of Iran. Where are you people? Where are you so-called patriots? Where are you so-called influencers? What the hell are you looking at? Especially those of you who claim you know me. You have me in your phone. You have me on your friends list. You've texted me. You've tried to get me on your shows. I'm not coming on there and promoting you. That's all you want me for. You want me and my followers. You want my followers' eyes on you. And the ones who are still trying and struggling, the ones that I'm here for, hell no. I'm not going to give them you. Get out of here. I don't care how many views you're getting. A lot of you are regurgitating. You ain't gone through the fire of what we've gone through. You ain't a veteran, so you ain't done that. But then two, you ain't gone through no death threats, no hate, no anything. Mark Twain effect is in full effect right now. Again. In the beginning of change, the patriot is scorned, hated, ridiculed, and mocked. Then the timid will join him when his cause succeeds, because then it costs nothing to be a patriot. You don't know anything about being a patriot. You're regurgitating stuff. And all the influencers out there who are just making other people miserable all day long, they're not influencers. They need to be canceled. Epstein. How come, right now, if you get on X, how come Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, and Schumer, none of them are calling for the Epstein files? How come all the main hardcore Democrat liberals, how come they're not posting about the Epstein files? How come none of you quote-unquote influencers caught that? Where were you in 2008? 2008? 2008? Where were you in 2008? Where all you people who are mad about Epstein files and jump shit with President Trump, this is all of you. Where were you in 2008? He was given a plea deal. In 2008, he took state charges, not federal charges, state charges. Who was the president in 2008 again? Who was not the president of Russia from 2008 to 2012? Putin? Who was the president in 2010? What happened in 2010? President Trump called it the greatest scandal in United States history. He didn't even call his Russia collusion scandal the greatest. He called this in 2010 the greatest scandal in U.S. history. Uranium One. Guess who that involved? Bill, Hillary, Obama, Biden. Uranium One. $145 million deal. Old Bill Slick Willie, the real pedophile, the real one who had the famous JFK desk utilizing the door in the front the wrong way with little Monica, all right? Old Slick Willie was giving like $500,000 a speech during that time period. Just imagine if I took $500,000 a speech, what people would call me. And I have real facts. I have real evidence. I have real experience. I have real everything that would actually benefit people. This dude was up there just, I did not have sexual relations with that woman. 2011. Who was the Secretary of State from 2009 to 2013 for Obama and Biden? Hillary Rodham Clinton. Who prosecuted Epstein again? He was what, arrested in what year? 2019. Who was the president again in 2019? So why didn't Epstein die in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016? He was arrested again in 2019. Who was the president again? And he mysteriously died right before President Trump said, "We have it all. We've caught them all. No one could have caught them but me." See how stupid you influencers look? I'm not ever apologizing for calling stupid people stupid. You're misleading thousands of people. Even if you misled one person, you're misleading people. When you don't know what you're talking about, you are not put here to lead. When you're disrupting people, when you're creating panic, when you're creating fear, when you're creating all these things that are negative or Debbie Downer, you are not a leader whatsoever. And their blood is on your hands. So watch this. I'm about to show you how every single influencer does not have a damn clue what they're doing. If they're in that category of misleading people, if the people are disrupted, or in dismay, or disarray, upset, in fear, and whatever it is, negative or Debbie Downer, I'm about to show you. I've already broken this down one time, but we're going to do it again. How come these quote-unquote influencers are not showing people my page, sharing all my posts, all my videos, all right, sharing my Rumble on their accounts, sharing my books, which are #1 bestsellers again, for the people who can afford it, for the people who can't, there's free videos. I don't have any subscriptions whatsoever. How come these quote-unquote influencers don't know about Supreme Court docket case 23-939, filed March the 19th, 2024? How come all these influencers, though, first off, didn't see this right here, this formation? Tip of the spear, special operations. That's not Space Force. That is not also Illuminati. So you have your idiots out there saying that's Illuminati. Then you have your others saying that's Space Force. No, it's not. Special operations. Tip of the spear. That's the spear. That's a spear. Tip of the spear. Go Google it. It's also the icon logo on Unconventional Warfare Pocket Guide. Tip of the spear, Special Operations Command. When President Trump was sitting well, first off, let me do it this way. When President Trump is in any meeting, in every event, he's sitting there just like that. At every meeting and every event, every world leader, everything. Tip of the spear. Special operations. On January the 20th this year, 2025, he couldn't do it because it would look really too obvious for Inauguration Day because he's front and center. Who did it? Eric. Eric's over there real high up. Not down low. He's real high up doing just like this. It's all special operations. Tip of the spear. When President Trump is sitting with Diddy in photo, this is how stupid liberals are. Now, liberals kind of almost get a hall pass in one way because why? They don't know about laws and orders. Now, they might be in a place where they can be presented with them, and some will be. Some will be when they finally have a friend of theirs that says, man, you got to see this. You got to look at this. Because the end goal is to get as many people on board as possible. I don't want to call people stupid. I don't want to call people ignorant. I don't want to call them that. But while we're going through this, and you're not knowing what you're supposed to know and can know, then don't look like it, and you won't be called that. But when President Trump is sitting with Diddy, no coincidence. Because the military knew. The military generals, when they created this strategic plan, they knew they were going to have a president who wasn't military to take down this. Because, be a face, be the image, be the brand. Because some people would claim military coup, and that could lead to what? Civil war. So the military used an outsider, but a civilian, but as a commander-in-chief who gets that capacity when they become a president. So 23-939 ends all of your phony, fake, bait you up influencers. So I took a lot of heat, and I'm okay with it, because again, if you trash military, if you trash a veteran, if you trash military laws, if you trash military operations, if you trash military regulations that are all lawful, then you're trashing every veteran. You're trashing everything to do with military. You're trashing every memorial grave. You're trashing everything to do with the military. Special operations, just because you may not have ever heard of it, just because it sounds far-fetched to you, just because unconventional warfare, irregular warfare, they're unconventional for a reason. They're irregular for a reason. They're not conventional, and they're not regular for a reason. They're special operations that are taking place that are secret until they want you to know about them. 2017, Politico or Newsweek, one of those, I can't remember, told you there's 60,000 secret military in operations. 60,000. So before we even get to the breakdown of what slaves all these quote-unquote influencers and investigative journalists who have done nothing but find what they can find on Google, like regular, like .org and .net, and, you know, I'm dumber than a turtlehair.net and all this other stuff that ain't even authentic, not even real. All right, and then they're reading all these kind of people who don't have real hardcore receipts via what the commander's working with. You know, oh, the aliens and all this, and oh, the aliens are going to get me, and all this. I don't ever talk about stuff that you can't put your hand. Everything I talk about, you can go put your eyes and ears on. That are official. What President Trump's working with, military's working with. Military ain't working with Q. All right, military don't work like that. Military works on laws and orders. I saw some post today about someone calling themselves Q and Anon or something. Said, we're the only ones who knows what's going on. The only thing that matters are the Q. No, it ain't the only thing that matters. Laws and orders are what the military is working with. Laws and orders are what President Trump's working with. Laws and orders ain't going away. Q's going to go away. Laws and orders ain't going away. And I'm not knocking Q completely. But, again, your average people out there can't even grasp laws and orders. So they don't need to be hearing about, oh, this rabbit hole here and this rabbit hole there and this rabbit hole. Your personal rabbit hole don't need to be on someone else. Laws and orders are what the commander-in-chief and military are working with, which clearly outline what they outline. That's what people need to see first. Put your selfish stuff aside. Even if it's good, or even if it's fun, even if it's something fun to sit around a campfire, put that aside first. Show them what matters first. 23-939. So way back in July 13th, coming up in 3 days, this is where people get confused. You'll see President Trump share about a book about Butler, PA, and you'll see about the paintings and all, and God spared his life. And first off, again, military operations. You don't put the real president out there. So people, here's how you debunk this. Look at all the people who trashed my post when I posted me and President Trump. Oh, that's not the real Trump. That's not real. Oh, bravo. Guess what you just did? You just acknowledged that there's doubles. Bingo. So you just acknowledged there's doubles. So now I got you caught. Now that you've acknowledged there's doubles, guess what? Why would they put the real president out at arenas and events and open fields, football fields, etc., where only military can guard a certain parameter, but they can't guard certain parameters for snipers? Why would they put the real president out to be shot at and put the double at the private golf course and also private establishment in Mar-a-Lago where his members are only allowed to go and their guests? So his members have known him for years, most of them, even before he's president. They know who the real and the double President Trump is. They're all under an NDA like that. They know this stuff. Why would... What? Build me back up. You don't put the real president out there. So President Trump's talking about the double. The double could have been shot at. The double could have been. But when you go back and look at that day, every day before that, they showed you some visuals. They showed you President Trump had swarms of teams around him. When the Miami court case was going on, about the documents case, swarms of teams. He would have been a former then. So see what I'm saying? People aren't paying attention to what they're supposed to be paying attention to. Then you get to the July 13th, 2024. Forget about what I know before. We're going to bring that up. But July 13th. Diagram show, every diagram. The shooter was perpendicular, like this. Perpendicular to the stage. His snipers were behind here. If you think that a sniper will leave their perch, you're doing every sniper, but also the military disgrace. They left what they call the sight picture. The sight picture right here. Not only did they leave their sight picture right before the quote-unquote shot, but then it dropped down. No. That alone. 2, he didn't look directly towards the shooter. Here's the stage. Here's the podium right here. The shooter would have been right here. He did this. He turned at an angle. See, people don't pay attention to what? Geometry. They don't know angles and geometry. He didn't look perpendicular. He looked like this. He originally looked over there and pointed at the screen. Then he came back here and then he dropped his head like that. If it took the top of his ear off, he would have had to been looking straight at a shooter. What people do is let death get in their way and operations get in the way of the bigger operation. Let a firefighter who died and all this other stuff. Oh, Lord, I can't believe you dare, Jonhson. Someone died that day. And President Trump sitting there telling you the whole time, oh, the experts say people get up and run when people start shooting, but the people just stayed there. Then they showed Secret Service down, perched up at the stage, and people still in the audience. Why would they need to perch there? Why would they need to guard someone else when everybody's just sitting there? Where did the other bullets go? Why didn't other bullets hit anybody? See, no one wants to look at common sense, and no one wants to look at it because you think, oh, Derek Jonhson, you're supposed to love President Trump. You're supposed to support him. You're supposed to be an expert on this, and you're sitting here saying, I'm telling you it's a strategic operation. Go look at all the coincidences that you call, the people who complain, that you call a coincidence. I'm saying, go look at all these things. Look at what all I've built up in this video so far. I'm going on almost 4 hours now. Look at what I've built up so far. Are you going to call all that a coincidence? Now watch this. What are the odds that in 1966, Special Operations Command has a pyramid in its publication? And it's got a word in there called agitation in the same sentence structure. That in 2016, go back, February 2016, Obama, Gitmo. We're not shutting it down, President Trump. April 2016, Special Operations Command. May 2016, remember? Military Justice Act. Supreme Court clarifying military laws, federal laws are separate. All these things. Remember the timeline. That's why this thing's good, because it's got the timeline in it. On these videos, you got to remember what I said earlier. Right there in that Special Operations Command, April 2016. The same pyramid from 1966, pyramids in this one on page 11. And it's called a pyramid for revolutions. What are the odds that the word agitation in 1966, out of all these chronological order of timeline events that I've given you and provided you, not only in this video, but over the time you've watched me, but also in books, what are the odds that that word agitation changed to assassination? In special operations, that also has the same government exile in it, this same executive order 12333 in it referenced, which is the assassination executive order established by President Ronald Reagan. Who got shot at again? Ronald Reagan. Also Gerald Ford got shot at. Yeah. Okay. So what are the odds of that? And then what are the odds that it says after assassination? It says comma. It says forming favorable public opinion. Well, did it do that? Did rhinos, conservatives, and patriots who didn't know anything about special operations, did they get mad and pissed and scared and angry and all this other things and rally behind President Trump? And speaking of that, while we're there, all these people who all of a sudden forgot about, if you really thought he got shot, all of a sudden you jump ship by that man? Wow, you're pathetic. You're a pathetic excuse of a human being. That's what you are. Especially all of you normies who took up for that, and all of a sudden you jump ship because you don't know anything about Iran, and it was already in publications in 2019 by the military that you claim you also support. And then Epstein, just because it didn't go your way, because you don't know anything about what the tip of the iceberg is, which I'm about to explain to you. You don't know anything about that? How selfish of you. You're selfish. You don't deserve America. You don't deserve veterans. You don't deserve your freedoms. You don't deserve President Trump. You don't deserve it. You're going to get it, and you got it, but you don't deserve it. You're ungrateful. Forming favorable public opinion. Checkmate. Yep, it pissed off Americans. It pissed off Republicans, conservatives, and all that. Oh, yeah. Yep, checkmate. Forming favorable. Then it says advocating national cause. Well, did it leave Pennsylvania? Did it reach China? Did it reach Mexico? Did it reach Texas? Did it reach Washington? Checkmate. Creation of distrust of established institutions. Well, there you go. People got pissed at the FBI, law enforcement, Secret Service, CIA, all of them. They even got pissed at some people that didn't even have an effect on it. Yeah, they're to blame too. I'm like, what? What's the Department of Agriculture have to do with anything? People just mad about it, just want to point a finger at somebody. Don't even realize what's going on. 11 days later, they had the Secret Service director under oath, congressional oath, and they asked her a question. And she validated Derek Jonhson, the Midnight Rider Rides Again, and everything. She validated me. Not that it's about me, but she validated it. The director of the Secret Service, they asked her, did President Trump receive the same security that he would have received as a sitting president? Because the whole world thought he wasn't a sitting president, because they don't know anything about a wartime president and a supreme commander in military operations and strategic operations and special operations. Don't know anything about that. So, just from a normie standpoint, did President Trump receive the same security he would receive as a sitting president? No. A continuity of government. Remember the douchebag that just got blocked earlier? This was just last year. We ain't even been a full year yet. The Secret Service director, all right, telling the whole world it's a continuity of government. My bedroom's just right here. If I'm the one I'm looking at, my bed's right there. I'm going to sleep like a baby tonight. The more people who hate me and loathe me, the better I sleep. Because I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. The odds that Special Operations Command changes from the word agitation in 1966 to 2016 assassination. And all those terms behind the word were checkmate, checkmate, checkmate. And then the Secret Service director says it's a continuity government. And you have laws showing that they were in a full continuity government at that time period. Executive Order 13961, December the 7th, 2020. So now let's go back, fast forward. It wasn't President Trump lying. It wasn't President Trump doing a publicity stunt. It's special operations. All right, strategic operations. They're draining the three-letter agencies. Y'all yell, a lot of people, drain that swamp, drain that. Why did you yell that if you don't want that? Why did you yell that if you can't identify that? Why did you yell that if you can't appreciate that? That's what you're witnessing. You're watching the resetting of all the three branches of government, the resetting of all the three-letter agencies. You're watching the resetting of everything. That way people can hold the real ones accountable in the future. All these idiots yelling about Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and all these idiots out there, you look atrocious. Supreme Court docket 23-939, March the 19th, 2024. Oh, well, let's see here. Alabama hillbilly math. March, April, May, June, July. Uno, dos, tres, cuatro. 4 months before the quote-unquote assassination, President Donald John Trump has a petition with the United States Supreme Court. And it says 3 amici curiae military officials. That's the one you look at. You click on that. It specifically asks the question in there, can a president order SEAL Team 6 to commit murder to assassinate a political rival? So now watch this. This is where all the influencers, the bait 'em up, who don't care about their people, who don't care about their followers, they just bait them with all these stupid questions. They don't have any real quote-unquote information. They're about to get roasted again. Because they don't share people like me, because they know that when their people discover me, there's bye-bye for them, because they didn't know the whole time. Because people will be able to have timestamps of my stuff being way back here, and their people is going to be like, wait, this guy's been talking about this from way back here, and he's got the only books that show this, and how did you not know this? I love clown movies. People don't like clowns, but I love clowns. And I love those scary movies with clowns and the clowns going, yeah, well, I'm that. You look stupid. 23-939, filed 4 months before. Asked the question. And the last time that SEAL Team 6 and a president were involved in anything was Obama and Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden was killed May the 2nd, 2011. Do you know the guy that I go on with, Awesome Patriot, Michael Jaco? He's a retired SEAL Team 6 chief. You know, he was in the room with Obama and Biden. Now, he's exempt because military don't teach laws and orders. Military don't show, no branch of the military whatsoever. Nothing. So when idiots like Candace Owens out there say what they say, our military don't even teach laws and orders. Now, the orders of a military are a little slightly different because the order comes down from your Joint Chief of Staff. It comes all the way down, and by the time it gets to brigade level, battery level, etc., your unit. Someone who is enlisted can't go against that order whatsoever. It'll have to be someone like a captain, a major, or higher. And then if a captain goes against it, then the major, the lieutenant colonel, and they have to stand with it. It'd be better if a colonel or a general said no. But people need to understand that. So, all these people out there talking about laws and orders, here they are. If laws and orders don't matter, then what the hell are they doing talking about, don't abide by, don't take an unlawful order? Well, you need to know what a lawful order is in order to know what an unlawful order would be. So if laws and orders don't matter, then why are these people out there spewing that if they don't matter? And why do they look atrocious when they're supposed to be Republican, conservative, patriots? Why do they look atrocious? Why are they the ones saying don't take an unlawful order? They don't even know the lawful order's in place. So you need to know a little bit about military and the chain of command before you even talk about stuff like that. Remotely close to it. So, again, Obama, Decode, and he and I have already done a special show on this where we talked about it. We broke it down. He talked about Pakistan and where they were and what they were doing and what it looked like. All right, and Obama unmasked them. You're not supposed to show Navy SEALs, especially special operations. He unmasked them. So that's why you even know about them. That's why they wrote books and have everything, because he's like, well, if they unmasked us, they had to look over their shoulder all the time. We might as well be known to people. So he became an author, and he has a podcast, and he talks about it. So, 2011. May the 2nd, 2011. Now, all these people whining, complaining about Epstein, look at this. Watch how this all ties in. It all ties in. See, they're selfish, and they just think Epstein's the end-all, do-all. He's a little bitty tiny tip of the iceberg. Little bitty. Diddy. Little bitty diddy. Little bitty. Five months after Osama bin Laden was killed, guess who else died? Gaddafi. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, spaghetti-o. Who was the Secretary of State again from 2009 to 13 under Obama? Hillary Clinton. Who was heavily involved with Uranium One? 2010. Hillary Clinton. Who was under congressional oath taking fire for the actions of Benghazi, Libya? Hillary Clinton. Who stood in front of the UN Assembly and said that to have true world peace, it can't be ran by the same 5 power countries? The same guy who also said at that speech that, are we not going to investigate what happened? The hanging of Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein was friends with Dick Cheney and America, and then they killed him. Assad, who fled Syria December the 8th, 2024, the same executive order that President Trump just ended with Syria with the national emergency and opened up their market to our U.S. market. The first president to end national emergencies from the deep state bureaucrats, President Donald John Trump. Syria? Syria's opened up. Vietnam's opened up. Iraq's opened up. All these have... Iraq? The U.S. market? And President Trump's supposed to be one of them? All these quote-unquote influencers who need to be tagged on this post, who need to be exploited, like, again, the same people who I've been posting about don't even know this? And we have direct ties? And so Syria? So you have Barack Hussein Obama. Oh, what a name. Barack Hussein Obama. Hillary Rodham Clinton. Slick Willie, Bill. Joe Biden, the real Joe Biden. And then you have Osama bin Laden, killed May the 2nd, 2011. You have Gaddafi, assassinated October the 20th, 2011. And you have Gaddafi, before he was assassinated, being laughed at by Assad, who fled Syria December the 8th, 2024. And President Trump hadn't done anything, according to all these people now. You had all the other world leaders laughing at Gaddafi. And he was sitting here talking about Dick Cheney and Hussein being friends. And he said they, meaning the old United States, the line was drawn in the sand November the 8th, 2016. They, the United States, will do the same thing to us. What happened to him shortly after that? Assassinated. And you're going to tell me that's a coincidence that Osama bin Laden and Gaddafi were killed 5 months apart, and now we have a Supreme Court docket case 23-939, March 19, 2024, 4 months before the quote-unquote assassination attempt, in place, that's going to open up all the can of worms on Obama. All roads lead to Obama, which is going to open up Hillary, Bill, Joe, Schumer, Schiff, Comey, all of them. And what are the odds that that Supreme Court docket references Executive Order 12333, which is Ronald Reagan's executive order for assassinations? What are the odds that that executive order is in the 2016 Special Operations Command booklet that also changed the word from agitation in 1966 to assassination in 2016? You're going to tell me that's a coincidence? And you're going to tell a veteran who's keeping oath that all of this is hogwash, bullshit, conspiracy theory, all this other. Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're going to go? You influencers out there, and you rhinos who were never President Trump supporters, you're a damn rhino, and you're also nothing but trash to the real patriots who are trying to make a difference. That's what you look like. The coincidence that all these things align, and we're still in the continuity of government by laws. Man, I mean, it can't get any sweeter than that if you're a real patriot, if you're a real President Trump. It can't get any sweeter than that. This Supreme Court docket case there, 4 months before. And let me show you the other thing it breaks down. It also shows you this. So, Executive Order 12333 was a executive order that modified Executive Order 11905. If you go to Google after this, go to Google and type in Executive Order 11905, comma, CIA.gov. Enter. Click on that PDF file that pops up by CIA.gov. Read it. Go to page 2728. It outlines searches, unconsented searches, physical surveillance, electronic surveillance, opening of tax forms, opening of mail, all these things. The three-letter agencies, Intel, that's the things of the Intel agencies. Who did President Trump say weaponized against the people? The three-letter agencies? But he said what? It wasn't all the people in there. It was what? The senior level leadership. And you have evidence of what? Special operation, but for the normal people, for the moment, they have what? They have evidence of what? A raid on Mar-a-Lago to get documents. President Trump said they took personal documents as well. All right? So that could have been mail. They've also asked for what? His tax returns. They spied on Trump Tower. He said they spied on my campaign. They spied on Trump Tower. They have video surveillance. They have electronic surveillance. They have everything. Do you not hear what you're hearing? Remember that Christmas song, Do You Hear What I Hear? Do you hear what I hear? Do you not hear executive order here, 11905, President Gerald Ford? And then it ties into executive order 12333, assassinations. You can't attempt assassination on anybody, but especially the president. And that's over here in Special Operations Command and also the Supreme Court docket case 23-939. Do you not see all these tying in? But I'm the conspiracy theory. I'm the conspiracy theorist. I'm the one that's, he's so harsh, his language is harsh, and, that's not professional of I'm not a podcaster, people. I'm a retired veteran that God gave a platform to. I'm doing the best I can with my language. But you people out there, it's all there. This is a strategic operation, the whole thing. And influencers acting like this is all real time and it's all, the daily hiccups and everything. It's an operation. Listen to military first. So if Joe was president, why was all of 2021 to 2025 a direct replication of a puppet government? Strategic tactic. Why did he relinquish his authority July 19, 2021 to the president of 1550, which is President Trump? That's an executive document of Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550, which was put there by Congress. Democratic House introduced it. Republican Senate passed it. That's all congressional. Why is he relinquishing his authority and functions to the president of 1550? Who's the president? December 20, 2019. So why did quote-unquote Joe relinquish his authority? That's exactly what that executive document did. So that's what also proves the Iranian reports from 2019, December the 20, 2019, the last presidential report was on the day that the war order was put into place. And the most recent one was December 23rd, 2024. So quote-unquote Joe did not have a single presidential report to Congress from 2021, 2022, 2023. And 28 days before January the 20th, 2025, quote-unquote Joe has finally got a presidential. No, he relinquished his authority. So if you thought he was real, I'll play devil's advocate for a moment. If you think he's real, thought he was real, okay, fine then. Why did he relinquish his authority July 19, 2021? In executive document, executive, presidential document, executive branch, presidential. In Title 50, Chapter 33, Section 1550, Title 50, Congress, Secretary of Defense, Congress, Secretary of Defense, Chapter 33, War Powers Act. There's been zero White House military office. The last archived White House military office is Obama's. Why? Air Force One, logistics, travel. Marine One, logistics, travel. That's what White House military office does. Why hasn't there been one? Why hasn't it? Why is the last archive page Obama's? Why is the last order of succession within the Department of Defense, Executive Order 13963, which are all in our Department of Defense directives? Every time you read a Department of Defense directive and it references order of succession for the Department of Defense, Executive Order 13963. December the 10th, 2020, just 3 days after continuity of government executive order? Then that's supposed to be a coincidence. Every president had an order of succession within the Department of Defense, except for quote-unquote Joe. All the visuals on January the 20th, 2021. All the military funeral for Joe, the 3 cannons and everything. Not going over that again. Air Force One. To this day, even President, when it shows Air Force One going somewhere, guess what it doesn't have? A call sign. So that's consistent with also what happened with quote-unquote Joe. No presidential call sign on Air Force One. And President Trump has told you multiple times, he's not the president. He's a wartime president. It's a completely different kind of law. Unique laws, unique strategy, strategic operation, special operation. Guess who is flying with presidential call signs? The Department of Defense. Oh, well, that would align with what? The Secretary of Defense and the Defense Department. That would align with all of President Trump's laws and orders, because he wouldn't be in charge himself alone. It's the Department of Defense and them working at a military capacity with him being the commander-in-chief. He is the commander, but it's a unified, bipartisan operation. Democratic House, again, passed it, introduced it, and they passed this. National Security Presidential Memorandum -2. President Trump. He had one January the 28th, 2017. It has an order of succession in there. Skip ahead, February the 4th, 2025. He issues another National Security Presidential Memorandum. Order of succession in there. Quote-unquote Joe. Hear me out. There's two different points to this. Every president has called their national security memorandum something different. They all have a different language. NSPM or the NSM. So, National Security Memorandum, National Security. They all have a different name. Why doesn't Joe's have a different title? It shows Joe with one right in the middle of 2017 and 2025. It shows quote-unquote Joe with one, but it's an NSPM. Every other president has used a different term for it. How come quote-unquote Joe? Also, how come quote-unquote Joe's doesn't have an order of succession in there? Funny. So you have a DOD, the last Department of Defense order of succession is from 2020. and the most recent, which would have been at that time period, because quote-unquote Joe didn't have one, the most recent would have been 2017 for the national security order of succession. The Iranian reports, again, just ran over that. So you have zero excuses. No one has any excuses at this point. There's nothing new. Anybody who acts like this is new, and any audience out there who's discovering people, who's not showing people the laws and the orders in place, and they're just talking about a Q drop here and a Q drop there, and they're just talking about this here and a that there, and a rabbit hole this and a rabbit hole that, that ain't helping anybody. It's a disgrace to the military. People need to know what they can put their eyes and ears on first. Things that bring you peace, solace, comfort. It's the military. It's the military who fights for you. It's the military who allows you the freedoms. It's even the military who allows all these delinquents to get out there and say no kings and all this other bullcrap. Because in nations that have real kings, guess what they don't have? Real protest. So see, we allow them to do that. People are only as free as their surroundings allow them to be. We, the military, allowed that. Every reason why you and I are sitting right here looking at this camera together, the only reason you and I are here is because of our foundation, our unique foundation, our unique Revolutionary War, the unique literature from our founders, the ideologies of our founders. That's the whole reason why we're here. So Instagram says I have 1:52 remaining, so they have a limit. So you have everything you need. It's all there. Laws and orders. Again, broken record, but a beautiful broken record. If you're not following me, you need to follow me. I'll lead you to all the right people that you need to listen to, the good people. The ones that knows what's going on by laws and orders. You need to listen to me. All these influencers out there, take heed. We're watching you. Some of us are in operations. We're watching you. All right? We're watching you. You're misleading people. Stop misleading people. When your people discover me and people that I'm associated with, it's game over for you. If you really want to be a part of humanity, if you really want to be a part of this whole clean out and operation in the end, then do what's right by the people. Show the people who know what's going on lawfully, who can hold it right here, every bit of it, every aspect of it. And again, part 1, part 2. Braggadocious, don't care. Right off the top of the dome, 0 ghostwriters, 0 publishers. 216 pages, 596 pages. Special operations, shows you what's going on. So, we'll see you guys soon, and thank you for being here, and make sure you share this and tag everybody.